It's that time of the week. Yes, this week's Cult Movie Show, your weekly look at cult movies. Please welcome your hosts, Warren and Velvet.
Yes, it is that time of the week again. Welcome to podcast 44 of the Cult Movie Show with myself, Warren, and with me, as always, in the virtual studio is, of course, the amazing, charming, witty, and funny Velvet. How are you today, Velvet?
I'm doing quite fantastic as always, and I'm always excited when we have a show like today. Not only are we doing a discussion, and then we're going to have a mini movie and do some movie reviews, we have a guest. We have a friend of the show who's been on here before. It's Irish Stewart. Hey, Irish, how's it going?
Hey, I'm great. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Oh, doing really well. Thank you so much for coming back on. We had such a great time that when you were on last time. So thank you for coming back. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be back. I did have a great time when I was on last time, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, we did a few good films. We did a few bad films, as I remember as well.
Oh yeah, Turkey Shoot.
Turkey Shoot
yes,
was one of those. Yes, but that was. But that's the whole point. It's the Cult Movie Show. We do the good and the bad, providing it's cult cinema. So and sometimes they're so bad they're so good. Sometimes they're so bad they're just effing bad, to be honest. But we have a combination. We're non-discriminatory here. We let everything go through. So Irish. If for anyone who obviously missed the last show you were on, give everyone just a bit of a rundown about what you're up to and what you're doing. Obviously in the film and TV industry.
Well, right now we're producing a pilot for a television series called Legion of Rue, and we're in the middle of getting that shot. It's a slow process as we are doing it. As they say, you can only do things two out of the three ways: good, fast, or cheap. So we're doing it good and we're doing it cheap. We are not doing this fast. But I have an amazing group of people that are helping me and a really great director. And right now he is out in California shooting for Disney. And when he comes back, we're going to be getting back to work. So very excited about that.
Awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And I should, because just for everyone who missed last time Irish was on, Irish, you have, of course, worked on numerous movies and TV shows throughout your career. And, of course, we met... I can't even remember how many years ago it was now. It was quite a few, actually.
3 or 4 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's been quite a while now. But it wasn't actually until about 2 years ago, I think, something like that I realised that you worked on the TV show Sheena. So, of course, so Irish, of course, is my idol, So
yeah, that's not a good thing to have. I'm not a good person to have as an idol, probably.
That's what all idols say.
Look, I was just impressed that I still have a closet full of props and wardrobe pieces from the show. Which we are integrating a lot of those pieces into the show we're shooting now. So there'll be a lot of little Sheena Easter eggs throughout the show that you'll see in the first episode, in the pilot episode.
So we are,
if you can pick those out, Warren.
Oh, we are so looking forward to that. That Legion of Rue actually has a link to Sheena. How cool is this? To quote somebody, a very old passed on Australian, I'm excited. You have no idea. You have no idea who that man. You have no idea who that gentleman was. But anyway,
I probably do.
He was an advertising guru. He used to do all those not telemarketing.
Oh, okay. No, I was confusing him with something else. But
he used to sell basically anything he could get his hands on. He sold, and he was a very large gentleman, and died of heart problems in the end. And anyway, he would start every advert he did with "I'm excited," with this kind of work. And anyway, I used to work with a guy who went on holidays up in Queensland, and he was in one of the casinos in Queensland. Oh my God, and he said, and there on the blackjack table, was this guy, and every time they would deal out a hand, he'd yell out, "I am excited."
Oh my God! He actually talked like that?
Oh yeah, and they had a huge crowd of people. This guy reckons there must have been 50, 60 people all standing around this one table just watching him play blackjack. But anyway.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that.
You may have learned, of course, by now, we digress a lot on this show, Irish.
Oh, not at all. Not us. Never.
Perfect show for my ADD problem.
So anyway, look, we should, I suppose, get stuck into it. And we thought that we've been having quite a lot of discussions on the show lately, and we've been what have we talked about so far, Velvet? We've talked about
oh my God, we've talked about good actors in bad movies.
Yes, we've. What was another topic we had?
I know now. All of a sudden, I'm brain dead. I'm like,
best or worst.
Don't work so.
Best or worst in genre. In fact, we actually did that last week, and we can't even remember. I know.
Hello. It's because that's also that was the other week. I was going to say that was the week we did Zardos, and that fried our brains.
Yes. Oh, Zardos would fry anyone's brain. I mean, yeah.
Oh my God. The gun is good, and the penis is evil. That's all you need to remember.
That's all you need to remember.
So.
I think that's just a given, isn't it?
Oh, dearie me. Well, I went out after that and bought my red jockstrap and hooker boots, so I would be ready for that show.
Now you can fly over to the U.S. and I'll loan you my rifle. Yes,
I was about to say I could get everything else in Australia. I just couldn't get the rifle. But anyway. But we thought this week we might talk about sequels, the good and the bad, because
the possible,
and the possible. So, I thought I might start, and I'm just going to throw up some. Well, in some cases, literally throw up some films here, but I thought I might actually start with some of the better ones, the ones that I thought the sequel was equally as good, if not better, than the actual original film. And just get an idea of what everybody thinks, and if everybody else has got some ideas, throw them on in. And then I thought we might talk about some bad ones. So everybody sort of cool with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first one that actually came to my mind was Alien 2, Aliens, where I actually thought the sequel was every bit as good as the original. But just wondering what everyone thought.
Yeah, and some even say that movie is almost better than the original.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was. I loved that movie. I got more into that one because I think the first one I was a little overwhelmed with the whole new storyline and the sets and this creature. And by the second one, I at least was acclimated to that and was really able to get into the story. And I thought it was. I think
that's why. Well. Yeah, I think that's exactly why too. A lot of people like the sequel so much because, like you said, the first one is such a juggernaut. It's just the H.R. Giger monster is so fucking scary looking. What we now call the xenomorph. But by the second movie, you were expecting it, but they still came up with a good story that was engaging, and you weren't like, well, I've already seen this. I think it was a good combination of getting you acclimated and having a good story. And of course, you have your fan favorite Sigourney Weaver reprising her role, which she does in all these fucking alien movies, really.
well, I heard a lot of people.
Except for the recent.
Well, I've heard a lot of people actually say that both Alien 1 and Alien 2 are actually just, in some ways, remakes of American Westerns. Because if you think about it, Alien is like and I know these are very un-PC now. They're not politically correct, but, you know, they were popular in the 50s and the 60s. So Alien, the first one, is the homesteaders defending their circled wagons or their homesteads against the Native Americans who are attacking them, right? So they've got no real defense, you know, but they've got to survive. Aliens 2 is the US cavalry being swamped by Native Americans, and they're actually following a very Western theme of I don't know. I just wondered if anybody else has ever sort of picked that up.
I don't think I would have looked at it that as an analogy that way with the Western, but I can see what you're saying. I think that's really an interesting analogy. Yeah.
Yes, well, it doesn't have to be the Western. It could be another style of film, but it's the idea that the first one is the undefended people, or the unarmed people, if you like, where the second one is they're a group of soldiers. So they're two different sort of genres in the one genre, if you like.
Right.
Yeah, so... Yeah, anyway, it was just a thought. Anyway, so I think we agree on that. Now, the other ones I was thinking is, and this is actually, well, I suppose Alien is a franchise now with Prometheus and, you know, and all the rest of it. But Star Trek, what does everyone think? Does everyone think that the Star Trek movies now are just getting, like Star Trek 28, oh so very tired? Or do people think that, you know, that it's just getting better and better and better?
What?
Go ahead, Iris.
I have to say that I am a huge fan of the new reboot of the Star Wars films. I mean, of the Star Trek films. Yeah. Oh my God, that was bad. That was a bad film.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get to Star Wars. Don't worry.
Well, hey, I love those too. That's the problem. I can't choose one or the other that I like more of those, so that's my problem. But I love the reboot with the new cast. I think it's amazing, and I think the casting is amazing. I don't see anybody other than Leonard Nimoy to play Spock as well as Zachary Quinto. I just think he's amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, I just think they've done such a great job with them. I could do with a few less lens flares maybe in the style of the shooting, but overall I love those movies. Way more than I liked the sequel after sequel after sequel from the previous and the original cast.
Okay, because I have to admit I loved all of the original cast, and then also the Next Generation sequels that followed on. I mean, I suppose I'm a bit of a Trekkie at heart, so I love them. What about you, Velvet?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with both of you. I've absolutely loved the way that they've rebooted this franchise again and again with each new generation. And I feel like each film gets better not only in story, but in visual effects and the casting. They really have it down to a T. Like, anytime they first bring out the next generation of Star Trek films, I think everyone's always a little dubious of the casting. We're always kind of like, that's not William Shatner. Oh, that's not, Picard. That's not, But then they bring out this new cast and Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, and you're just like, wow, they're actually really good. And, I absolutely love Anton Yelchin, who recently passed away.
Oh, so sad.
Russian. I know. And I absolutely love him. And I love that he got to be a part of this franchise before his untimely demise. I mean, what a nice cinematic legacy to leave behind.
Oh, absolutely.
I was glad when they cast him as such a really young character, so obviously young in the reboot.
Yes.
Which, he looked all of 16, 17 years old at best, which I thought was fantastic.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the other thing too I love about them, especially I think in the reboot, if you like, of the original series, is that it's a great mixture of dialogue, drama, and action. Like, they seem to have been able to find a very good combination. It's not too much of one. They seem to have balanced it extremely well.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and that leads us on, I suppose, to Star Wars. Now, for me, obviously the first is an amazing movie. I don't think I've ever met anybody, even people who are not sci-fi fans, that have disliked the original Star Wars. But I would say that I think that 2 and 3 and 7 and 8 are fantastic sequels. But 4, 5 and 6 left a little bit to be desired. I didn't really want to spend hour upon hour watching dialogue about a trade war. I don't know how you guys felt.
I get that. My problem was with the never-ending pod race scenes.
Oh yes.
Those are really boring.
Kid Anakin,
Yeah. Those are honestly really boring to me. I don't know. I like the original. I'm one of the original at heart Star Wars. The whole new reboots and sequels, and now we're going to renumber the whole thing. I haven't kept up with that shit, so I don't know what's even going on anymore. To me, it seems like a new one comes out every year now, and I'm like, wow, this used to be a big event. Now it's like fucking superhero movies every year, 2 or 3 or 50 of them come out, and I can't keep track anymore.
Yeah, but I have to tell you though, the Rogue One film for me as a Star Wars fan was just freaking amazing.
Oh,
the fact
I agree.
that they were able to take completely unknown characters in this universe and put them into this universe in so convincing a way. I just thought the story was so well done. To me, besides maybe Return of the Jedi, that one, Rogue One, is probably the best for me of the Star Wars sequels, after the original, which I saw in the theater 36 times.
Yeah.
First came out. So, yeah.
No, I
thank goodness for Netflix and DVD now, because now you don't have to pay to watch them every single time. You don't have to pay 36 times to watch it 36 times.
But I was a child. I didn't care who was paying for me. I wanted to go.
But I agree. Rogue One blew my mind. It was like, because I've seen them all, and then to get this feel like this a prequel movie that would take place before episode, not a prequel, an inter one. So it's meant to take place just after episodes. So it's meant to take place just after movie 6, but starts off with movie 1.
Keep track of that.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, no. But Road One, I must admit, was fantastic. Absolutely, I loved it. I just loved it. I love the ending too. I thought the ending was just was wonderful.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it really was. Well, actually, then we're talking about sequels then as prequels. One that I actually think is very underrated, I actually love it, is The Thing. The sequel to The Thing, which is actually a prequel. This is the latest one that came out about 7 years ago.
Right.
Now, I don't know what everyone else thinks. I know I've mentioned this before on the show, but I think that that's a movie that gets canned that is actually really good.
I agree with you. It's definitely underrated. I think what makes it underrated is it does have a little bit of that Hollywood formula, but that's just the reality of our society now. A lot of movies out of Hollywood are going to have that formula that kind of dumb it down and make it a little less, shocking. But you've made this point about this movie many times, is that it is a very well-matched prequel, because you can literally watch the original from the 80s, and then you have this prequel, and if you watch it, and you see the original totally different.
Yes,
because questions get answered because of the prequel.
That's exactly right. And you watch them as a double feature, and you go, that's why that happened. Oh, that's what was going on there. Oh, that's what they were talking about. I didn't understand that conversation. Now I do. So, I think it's a very underrated film myself. As far
I can
as
tell you a sequel that I'm super excited about coming out soon.
Oh, yes.
I've been waiting for, which is the sequel to Kingsman: The Secret Service, the new one.
Oh, yes.
We were
so excited.
Yes, we were just saying that too. We are super excited about that. And I'm sad Colin Firth can't be in it because he's dead.
Well, he's dead.
So I hope they do there's some kind
he's
of
been in the trailer, Velvet. Velvet, he's been in the trailer.
I don't even watch trailers because I don't want to be fucking spoiled. But no, I'm
I just
told me
spoiled it for you.
No, I'm glad you told me, because now I'll go see it in the theater, definitely. Because, I was hoping he'll be in this movie somehow because Colin Firth was so hot in that movie. I've never seen Colin Firth do fucking action before. He's always just been kind of like the rom-com drama guy. And he's actually like killing people. Right? And he was like in that suit and he was so well-spoken. I was like, he was made for this role. He was made for this role. And I'm like, oh, they killed him. But now he's back somehow.
He was a very dapper assassin.
Yes. It's
I cannot wait.
Well, I think we even said in many ways that I think it was a couple of shows back, Velvet. We actually said that the Kingsman, in a way, is sort of James Bond for teenagers.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, a whole new generation of British spy guys. You know?
Yeah. So I'm hoping they make more. If this is successful and good, these are sequels, and a franchise I hope keeps going because I really. But then again, maybe not. Maybe it'll be a bit like. For instance, when they the British rebore, if you like, Centrinians, and they brought out the two Centrinians movies because we hadn't had any since the original ones were in the 1950s, and then there was one made in the 1980s which wasn't really very good, and then they rebirthed the movies, but they only ever made two. But in a sense, maybe that was okay. It was best to ended on a high and not let the sequels plummet down, to the depths of where some sequels will end up.
Right.
So yeah. But look, some other ones I thought that, that I just wanted to mention is, now this is a very controversial one. And this is, obviously, we had the original movie Blair Witch. And then we, of course, had Blair Witch 2. Now, I'm not talking about the remake, which has just happened. I'm talking about the actual sequel, which was made a couple of years later, Book of Shadows. Now, I absolutely love this film because I think it took Blair Witch in a totally different direction, which was really fascinating. In other words, it was to say, hey, was when you watch the original movie, you're meant to think that this is real. But then when you watch Book of Shadows, the sequel, you're being told, oh no, what you watched before was really a movie. This is what's real. And so it was what I found so interesting about it. It was a sequel that went in a totally different direction. And a lot of people hate it because it wasn't found footage. And so they sort of thought, how can you make Blair Witch, which is not found footage? But it really worked. And I don't know, it's a bit of a controversial one, I suppose.
Yeah, this might sound like I'm overhyping this a bit, but I think this movie was actually a little bit ahead of its time because it did do that. It didn't say, okay, you know what? This is going to be a sequel, but we're going to do something totally different. And also the whole concept of what you see is what's not really happening. And it's not, and they don't end the movie with, it was a dream. They end it with, more like, it was paranormal.
Yes.
Kind of what they Right. So, I mean, the movie's actually kind of ahead of its time. I remember actually seeing it in the theater and hating it. And it wasn't until recently when I've heard you discuss this film that I started thinking about it differently. And now I totally see it from your point of view. And I'm like, yeah, it was too early for that generation to appreciate that film. I mean, I'm not saying this film's a masterpiece. Not by any means. Definitely not. But it does have some groundbreaking stuff in there that it was just too early. People were not ready for it. It's like it's a sequel. We want to see people get lost in the woods and get killed by something mysterious. And that movie didn't do that.
Yes. No, that is exactly right. Now,
yeah.
Well, what about some comedies, guys? Because there are two comedies to me that stand out where I think the sequels really did stand up. And that was Ted 2 and Anchorman 2. I'm actually just wondering what everybody thought, because I know a lot of people have said Anchorman 2 was a real disappointment. I don't know. I'm just wondering what everybody else's thoughts are on those two.
Irish, I have not seen Ted. Have you seen Ted?
Well, I have seen both of those movies, not by choice, but I have seen them, and I tell you what, I laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
Both of those. And I agree with you. I think I laughed just as hard on the second one as I did on the first one, honestly. Of course, it's that juvenile, stupid, silly humor, but it was well done in the first one. It was well done in the second one.
Oh, look, I agree. I mean, especially with Ted 2, the beauty was that they didn't have to spend 20 minutes setting the story up. They could just jump straight in. And so you just got an hour and a half of crazy, stupid gags, between Mark Wahlberg and the teddy bear. And it was just, the teddy bear is obviously Seth MacFarlane, but I thought the second one was just equally as funny. I love some of the directions they took it in, where Ted and his wife become the abusive Brooklyn couple, sort of in the flat screaming out the window, and Ted's wearing a dirty singlet and she's doing the ironing, and it was just, it was just, I just thought it was just absolutely hilarious the way they did it all. But so that's definitely one there. There are some too that
but Anchorman 2, my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Anchorman 2. Okay, sorry. Yes.
Oh no, Anchorman 2. Did you like that, Velvet?
You know what? I think I was laughing when they got to the part where they were smoking crack live on the news.
That was, yeah.
How did they get away with that? It was just outrageous, and it was just like, well, I'm smoking crack. I'm like, wow, is this really happening? Yes, and it's funny.
And I think one of the things that was so good about that was that they were going to make that sequel much, much earlier, but they couldn't tie Steve Carell down. He was so busy, and basically the concept was that they would not make that movie unless they could get the entire cast back. So they weren't going to make it one person down. It had to be all of them, or it was going to be none of them. And I'm really glad that they did that, because,
yes,
it wouldn't have been as good if you hadn't have brought the whole cast back. So I'm glad that even though we had to wait quite a long time for the sequel, it was definitely worthwhile. I thought it was, and I do love
absolutely,
and I do love the news services battles that they have just before the end. I mean, they're hilarious,
It's just so bizarre. How did they even come up with the concept for that movie? It's news anchors. It's so bizarre. It's really funny.
Well, I just loved it when the History Channel appear in the news battle, and they're there and said, "We are the news. We're just the news 100 years late." But they bring the ghost of Stonewall Jackson with them, and it's like, and was it Will Ferrell standing here and says, "Does anybody else not realise that is the ghost of Stonewall Jackson?"
Oh man!
Oh dearie me, it is. Yeah,
the same reason it took so long to make a sequel for Anchorman is the reason we ended up with a female cast for Ghostbusters too, because they were waiting so long to get everybody on board to do another sequel with all of the male original cast. It took them so long, and just as soon as they had all signed on, Harold Ramis died, and so they weren't going to do the movie without him at that point, so they just flipped it and went with an all-female cast. And how did you guys feel about the female cast on that movie, on the sequel? I
loved every minute of it. Absolutely. I loved the way that the male secretary was ditzy and they were all smart. I thought it was just brilliant. I loved the casting. I mean, the four of them were so funny and they worked so well together. I can't fault it, to be honest. It was fantastic. I mean, it's not really a sequel as such. It's really a reboot, I suppose. But it's but I thought it was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
I like that they introduced it to a new generation, and I do like that they did do the all-female cast. I like that they switched it up instead of just rehashing the exact same formula. I thought it was a gamble. A lot of people were angry about it, the purists, but I think it paid off. I like what they did.
But the other thing, too, you think about it, we have all these comedy buddy movies, which are all like a group of guys, Three Amigos or the original Ghostbusters or, all these sorts of movies. They're buddy movies, in a sense. How many buddy movie comedies are there with all-female casts?
Well, this one and maybe, Bridesmaids, I can think of that one maybe as one.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, but that's, the list is very short.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And you think about how much amazing female talent there is currently in the comedy, even just comedy mainstream, let alone getting out of the mainstream.
Absolutely.
And it's about time that women started to get these major movies. It's just about time.
I agree with you completely. Somebody just has to take a chance and put it out there, and they're going to see that the public is receptive to it. Of course, there's always going to be the people who like to keep things the traditional way, and we can talk about misogyny in film and the film industry all day, but bottom line is these movies with these female comedians are great. And we need to make more of them, and we need to have people that are out there that are willing to take chances and put it out there for the public.
Exactly. Well said, Irish.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, of course, there's all these theories going around at the moment that the Doctor in Doctor Who may be cast as a woman in the next series. Also, there's always been talk as well. I mean, it's maybe not going male to female, but it is definitely going in a different direction. The concepts of James Bond becoming black rather than white. Definitely these ideas are starting to be played with, and I just hope that we follow through, a bit more on them.
Yeah, I love that concept. I mean, because the world is so diverse. I don't understand why these films have to follow a super strong formula every single time. That's why a lot of these sequels get a bad reputation, because it's like, oh, it's the same fucking story every time with the same actor or the same character every time. And you got to keep these stories fresh, Just like if you're reading a novel, even they may have a certain formula, but they still got to turn in some different plot points to keep you coming back to buying the sequels of those novels, for people that still read, I mean.
They say there's only 7 ideas in Hollywood, so they just keep rehashing the same 7 ideas over and over again with new character names, and, but it's always the same formula, it's always the same storyline, it's always the same stuff. And then when you really get somebody and a production company that's really willing to take a chance to break out of that box, what happens? The show is amazing, and people love it, and they just be willing to give it a chance.
Yes. Well, awesome. I was just going to say, it's a bit like in Hong Kong cinema. It's always argued there are only 5 things. Like every single movie out of Hong Kong has one of 5 things in it. So basically, it always has either police, ghosts, criminal gangs, martial arts, or stunts. They do not make a movie which is not about one of those 5 things. And the movies
I think you're right.
And the movies which are really highly successful bond more than 2 of those things together in the one movie.
Okay.
So it's interesting.
Wow. That sounds exciting. We need to do more Hong Kong cinema.
Yes, I know.
You need to do Kung Fu Hustle. That's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there's a couple of sequels I love that, for example, it's not always number 2 that you like. Sometimes it's number 3 or even later in the franchise. One of my favorite sequel films is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warrior.
Oh, yes.
Okay, if you're going to fight Freddy Krueger, of course it's going to be in the dream world, and you got, you get to be whatever you want. You can be a magician, you can be, razor blade lady with the mohawk and no voice.
That's right, the spiky mohawk. That made an impression on me as a teenager, that spiky mohawk.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Another one I love that's actually a part 3 is, and a lot of people don't like this one. I love this one. Back to the Future Part 3. The one that took place in the Wild West.
Ah, okay.
Yes. A lot of people don't like that. I thought it was so clever because it actually didn't go back to the future, went back to the past. Hey, who would have thought? Who would have thought? But no.
Yes.
Okay, here's one
movie.
Okay, here's one this is one of those where the sequel is better, or many people say it's better than the original. Terminator 2.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I agree. I definitely enjoyed Terminator 2 more than Terminator. But I think it was because Arnie had, by this stage, become such a huge star.
And also the special effects at the time blew a lot of people's minds. The whole liquid metal effect you'd never seen anything like that in a movie before, and it was so well done and so realistic at the time. It was just like, wow. But yeah. That movie was long.
I mean, look, I even
over 2 hours.
I even love Terminator 3. Where I started to lose interest is when it went into Terminator 4 and 5.
I know.
That's where it's now post-apocalyptic, and that's where
once they came up with the story and the reason why the fucking Terminator robots are aging like humans, I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
It's a fucking robot. It's not going to all of a sudden have wrinkles and need anti-aging cream and sunscreen. Come on. It's, you're going to have to do something else with that storyline or get a different actor or something. You just can't.
And the other thing, and the other thing for me too is they're set basically 10 years after the apocalypse, right? And you see them, and the grass is growing, the trees are there, the flowers are there, there's animals around.
Well,
it's 10 years.
Recovered quickly.
Yeah, it's 10 years after every nuclear device in the world has been detonated, and the world's just recovered somehow or other in 10 years.
Wow. Okay, we need to know what they did so we can help out, Chernobyl and Hiroshima and all those places that have some severe radiation problems.
Yeah, so
I'd love to know.
I thought that was just totally ludicrous.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah. It to me, it just justifies that idea that you can have a winnable nuclear war. Was just wrong.
Oh God.
That's
just actually a horrible message. Yeah, you're totally right. Okay, in happier news, you know what? No, this is a sequel that I absolutely love, but now it's so fucking politically incorrect, but I still love it. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Okay. I have to admit, I love all 4 indie movies, I must admit.
I do too. This one's still my favorite. Yeah. When they got the fucking, Indian people eat monkey brains and weird bugs and snakes. That's so offensive. That's so offensive, but I love that movie.
Oh my God.
It's definitely the least popular, I think, of all the Indiana movies, but I still loved it. I thought it was I thought it was good, I mean everyone sort of said, "Oh, there's no Nazis in it. Where are the Nazis?" But it was but it was meant to be the prequel to the original. It's not meant to be part 2. It's actually meant to be zero, if you like.
That's true. That's true.
I
love the Indiana franchise, and I feel like I heard they're trying to come out with another one. I'm like, please don't, because Harrison Ford's going to die in an accident on the fucking set. He's too old.
I know.
He's too old. I'm like, please.
Yeah.
Don't make that man do any more action scenes at his age. If anything, he should be an old-ass Indiana Jones sitting in a chair talking to his grandchildren, telling stories about his adventures.
Yes.
I don't want him to get hurt making that movie. Please don't do it, Harrison, please.
No,
and I could do without any more Shia LaBeouf in any more Indiana Jones.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I do not like that actor. That's another, him and Colin Farrell, for the longest time, I could not stand either of them. I started to like Shia LaBeouf a little bit when I saw him in Indiana Jones for half a second. Then I was like, no, even Indy can't save you, Shia. I can't stand you.
It's too much.
Can't stand you. Can't stand you.
I'll tell you what sequel that I thought was way better than the original movie by far. I just can't even begin to compare the two. Is Mad Max Part 2, The Road Warrior, was so much better than the original Mad Max movie.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I would agree with that.
Definitely.
The problem
I realized not long ago that I had never seen the original Mad Max, and it was on, and I popped it on, and I have no words for what I felt when I was watching that film. It was just, I just could not take it.
Well, you
It
have
was the worst.
Well, you have to remember.
It was the worst.
You have to remember the original Mad Max movie. There was never ever any intention for it to grow into the franchise that it grew into. It was just meant to be a cheap ass show in the cinema and drive-in Ozploitation movie. It was made.
It was.
And that's all it was ever meant to be. And then it just grew. Then we got number 2. Then we got number 3, which turned into a huge mega buster.
Which I love.
And now of course we've had it revamped. Which is. Which a lot of people sort of said, great idea, but why the fuck did you shoot it in Africa? It's meant to be set. I mean, Mad Max is meant to be set in Australia. Mad Max is an Australian.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Probably some better film incentives there for him to shoot there.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway. Well, what about some bad ones, guys? Because I thought we should just finish off before we move into our reviews with some bad ones. And
okay. Woo. How about here's one I forgot even existed. That shows you how it's just not memorable at all. The Fly, Part 2.
Yep.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I forgot it even existed. Yeah, and that was even directed by David Cronenberg, who's definitely got some screen cred, but, he couldn't save that movie. Nope.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with it. I mean, look, I've got a few here. I'll just list them off quickly and we can just make some comments and stuff. But
right on.
Speed 2. Now,
oh my god, yeah, that was overkill. That it had its one climax, but it couldn't stop there. It went for the double pop, and that was just too much.
Speed was an average thriller action film, but then to go and make a sequel, and the sequel was just appalling.
Right, yeah. It's like, instead of a bus, now it's a boat. See what we did there? Why? People? Don't give these people money to make movies. Stop it. Evan Almighty. Bruce Almighty, big hit with Jim Carrey. Steve Carell. Evan Almighty. Oh my god, the advertising blitz for that fucking movie made me not want to see it. It was literally everywhere. You'd be watching a television show and there would be an advertisement for the movie. Not even like an advertisement, just that bullshit pops up in the bottom corner of the screen of Steve Carell doing some dance or something, and they're like, make sure to see Evan Almighty when it comes out. You drive down the street, there's a fucking billboard, you open a magazine, there's a full-page ad. It's just on and on and on. The advertising blitz made me not even want to see the fucking movie. And of course, what happened? It was overexposure. It comes out. Not only is it, of course, not as good because it's not Jim Carrey. Love you, Steve Carell, but you're not Jim Carrey. Nobody wanted to see it because they were tired of hearing about the fucking movie. All right, sorry.
I just think the script was terrible. I think there was one redeeming place in the entire movie, which was with Morgan Freeman and the character of the wife in the diner, where he talks to her about what God does when you pray for something. I think that was the only redeeming moment in the entire script, and the rest of it was just complete and utter nonsense.
Oh man, that's
I know.
Okay,
I know.
All right, here's a sequel so bad it's good, and it's become a cult classic. Troll 2.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. It's definitely become a classic. I will give you that. I will definitely give you that.
A documentary about how bad that movie is, but it's become such a cult classic. And it's a really fun documentary to watch if you haven't seen it. And it's actually called, I believe it's called Best Worst Film. And it's about just the legacy of Troll 2.
well, I'll tell you what. I've got a couple, and that is here we go. Jaws 3 and 4. Now, Jaws.
Okay, I'm just going to say really quick. The fact that any sequels for the Jaws franchise exist at all is ridiculous. Okay, I'll let you go on.
Well, I was going to say,
come on, it's Jaws 3D. Come on.
Yeah, I know. It's just, first of all, Jaws 1, 2, and 4 follow actually a progression, if you like. Jaws 3 has nothing to do with the other films whatsoever. And it is so cheap. It is just so cheap. at least Jaws 4, the special effects weren't too bad, but the story and everything was terrible. Even Michael Caine couldn't save Jaws 4. It was just, oh my God,
sharks are, vengeful bastards. If you murder their mate, they'll follow you to Jamaica or the Bahamas or wherever the fuck you go from.
Yes, I know.
Kill off your family.
The whole idea that there was a family feud between the family of sharks and the family of fucking Officer Brody. I mean, it's just the sharks were hunting down the children. I mean, oh my God, It has to be said, though, as amazing as the original Jaws was, it was actually a terrible movie for what it created, because it created a massive cull of sharks around the world.
Yes.
And the film, although an amazing piece of art, if you like, did so much environmental damage in the years after it was released, and it's such a shame that this amazing film has such a terrible legacy. But thank God, so many countries that live or that are in areas that have large shark populations are now actually starting to protect them, where it's actually illegal to fish for them. So so at least now we're starting to realise that, as the statement goes, an ocean without sharks is scarier than an ocean with them.
Oh, right. As much as I hate spiders, I understand they're necessary to the ecosystem, and that's what sharks do for the ocean. You got to have those predators to catch some of the others.
You can't take out a top predator and expect the entire system to work properly.
Right. Oh, my God.
And they're also one of the oldest families of animals still around today. I mean, the fact that sharks actually go back through the age of the dinosaurs, and they haven't changed. They're just absolutely amazing creatures. But anyway, we're not here to do an environmental show, so. But
I do hope the megalodon has died out, because that motherfucker's way too huge. That dude needs to go.
I feel like it's probably still lurking down there. It's too deep. We can't get down there. How would we know?
I've got a sneaking suspicion that if you actually have a fish the size of a small train, I think people probably would have seen it from time to time. I mean,
I don't
know. You know what? They saw it, and that was the last thing they ever saw.
Yeah, right. Whoever heard after that? They ate the entire ship.
Exactly. That's where all these missing ships go that are causing the megalodon.
The megalodon.
Indigestion. But oh my God. Okay. Basic Instinct 2. You can't capture lightning in a bottle twice. We already saw the spread legs. We already know Sharon Stone's the killer. What is she going to do in the second movie? So why'd they make it?
No, I agree.
I love you, Sharon Stone, but no.
Yeah, I agree. Look, another one I think for special mention is Wall Street 2. Wall Street was an amazing movie, and then when they made a sequel, 20 years later?
That sequel was boring.
I just have to ask why. This was it was a movie about 80s grit. Now, I know it could be argued, especially in what we're seeing today in certain levels of power, that maybe the movie needed a reboot, if you like. But I just don't know. I just don't know. I didn't like it myself.
And plus Shia LaBeouf's in it, and that's already for a lot of people.
We've already established that's a no with Ghosts right there.
That makes it automatic box office poison.
know.
That's one of those actors for me. If he's in it, I'm already like,
But
no.
But one other one too, I'll just put out there, and because this I think is a bit of a controversial one, especially for real cult movie sci-fi buffs, and that is Starship Troopers 2, the sequel to Starship Troopers. Now there has of course been, since then, a Starship Troopers 3, as well as all the animated stuff and so forth. But Starship Troopers 2, a lot of people hated because it didn't have the budget of the first one. It was very dark and so forth. And a lot of people actually hated it. They canned it because it didn't have the excitement and the extravaganza of the original. But if you understand the way they made it, it actually makes a lot of sense. And I think this movie is a good one, not a bad one, even though people say it is. And that is, it's if you view Starship Troopers as a World War II movie, in other words, it's a huge extravaganza, okay? The director of Starship Troopers 2 said they were trying to make the type of movie that was made in the mid-50s, which was the Korean War movie, which was always meant to be smaller and more personalised. And if you look at it from that perspective, the movie actually is very good.
Unfortunately, I've not seen it, so I can't offer any commentary on it. I can only say I saw the first one, and when I saw the first one, the whole concept of that movie was just bizarre to me. The whole, we're going to go to this planet, and all the aliens are bugs, and they were having a war with fucking giant insects. And it was just so strange to me. And that was one of those movies when I first saw it, I was like, I cannot tell if this movie is serious or if this is supposed to be a comedy. I did not get it at the time. I get it now, but at the time I just did not get it. I was like, what is this movie?
Well,
so for me to hear it have a sequel, for me to hear it has a sequel or more than one sequel, I'm just like, again, at the time when it came out, if you told me there was going to be a sequel, I would have just said, how? How is there going to be a sequel? But you already explained it.
Yes. Well, don't worry. You have to get ready, because then there was a Starship Troopers 3, which went down a totally new path where it was meant to talk about the birth of religion. So it goes down a totally different path.
That's a long way from blowing up worms.
Oh, yeah. It goes down.
Brain-sucking worms or maggots or whatever the fuck they were.
It changes so much, because the original one, because of course everyone thinks it's meant to be all this Naziistic fascist, with the uniforms and everything like that, and it's not at all. That unfortunately is just an American misinterpretation of the movie, because the uniforms, the hats, or all the black, that's just European. If you go,
I'm sorry.
Okay, no. I mean, for instance, if you go,
just when you said that, it just made me think of Saturday Night Live, and whenever they do any kind of European skit, they're always wearing black, and they're always
the turtleneck.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But it's
sorry, that's just what made me think.
But it's like if you go today, and you have a look at the Swiss Army, or if you go and have a look at the Norwegian Army or the Finnish Army, they've got that almost World War II look, but it's not connected to the Nazis. It's just historical.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, why do French wear berets? Why do Australians wear slouch hats? It's just it's a cultural thing, but
right
unfortunately, because of World War II, it buggered everything up. But anyway, so that were just some ideas anyway. Anyone else?
So we talked about the good, the bad. I'm going to talk about the possible really quick of sequels.
Okay.
So really quick, just some that are rumored, and whenever I have a little bit of information, I'll throw it out there. Beetlejuice 2. Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder say they would sign on in a heartbeat. Tim Burton will not direct, but Beetlejuice 2 currently in production hell. Coming to America, Eddie Murphy has signed on. He is willing to do it. They need a script. Cheech and Chong, it's in production hell.
Oh, really?
It is in production hell since 2014. But yes, Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin, they're willing to bring out those weed smokers one more time for a final hurrah. They are willing to do it. Donnie Darko, Part 2, same director, Richard Kelly. Oh my God. Okay, Warren, you're going to want to see this one. This one's supposed to be coming out this year. Okay. Iron Sky, The Coming Race. Udo Kier making a reappearance.
I've been waiting for this. I've seen, all the titillating bits that are on the internet. I am so waiting for Iron Sky 2. I can't wait. Iron Sky 2 is one of the best black comedies that has been made for a very long time. Very funny, but also with a great message. Fantastic film.
Oh, absolutely great message. It really is. Okay, this one just cracks me up because I thought we were done doing this kind of sequel, but evidently not. So Danny Trejo, he's been in Machete. He's been in Machete Kills. Now they're talking about doing Machete Kills again in space.
Okay. This is like Jason X.
That's been in production hell since 2015, so that one might not happen. Okay, this one, I hope it happens. I don't think it will. Mel Brooks was on Adam Carolla's podcast, and he was teasing that he would love to do Spaceballs 2, but only if he can get Rick Moranis to come out of retirement.
Oh,
I heard rumors that they were really pushing to get that done, so you never know what will end up happening.
I really hope that happens. I really do, because that is...
it's like, come on, Rick Moranis, get your ass out. Your kids are grown up now, man. You retired to take care of your kids. They're adults now. Let them wipe their own asses. It's time for you to come back and reprise your role as Big Helmet on Spaceballs. Please, do this for us.
Well, the other thing, too, I'm thinking is that all the cast, it's one of those movies, obviously, from, 20 years old now, isn't it? Spaceballs. But all the cast is still alive, I think.
Yes, Bill Pullman, Daphne Zuniga. I mean, there's a ton of people. And Mel Brooks is still alive.
Hang on.
Is not still alive.
John Candy. Sorry. What was I thinking?
Oh, my God. Oh, hello. I couldn't believe I forgot.
Sadly.
Yeah, John Candy.
Bartholomew is no longer with us. So.
Yeah.
Okay. If he does do Spaceballs 2, it's going to be called Spaceballs, The Search for More Money. And
which is straight from the original script.
Straight from the original script, yep.
Yes, and the theme would also revolve around the whole revival of the Star Trek and Star Wars franchises, and he said it would be a tie into that.
Oh,
so, I mean, it would really be the height of pop culture. So I hope like I said, I hope Rick Moranis will come on board and really do this for us. Now, okay, this is my last one, and okay. Do you guys remember Twins? From the 80s with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Okay, same director. So Ivan Reitman, original director. They are talking about doing triplets. Arnold and Danny have signed on, and they're possibly going to have Eddie Murphy in that one.
I'm not holding my breath. I'm honestly...
I don't know about that.
I might skip that one, to be honest.
I think that one's too late. I think the buses, the train is gone on that one. I think it's too late for a sequel on that one. But if they had done that back when like Twins was popular, if they'd done it like a couple years later, they could have capitalized. But now I think it's, can't do it now.
I have no response for that at all.
No. I mean, there are Arnie movies that I think a sequel could be made if Arnie would sign up, but that's not one of them. It wasn't one of his best. I mean, when you think about, I loved Kindergarten Cop. I thought that was a really good film. I really enjoyed that. But also The Running Man. I actually think that was an amazing film.
Love The Running Man.
Love The Running Man.
Yeah. I just, but twins in triplets? No, thank you. No. No.
Yes.
All right. Well, I reckon that might be at the point because I think we're running so over time and we're only at segment 1. So I think we should take a quick break and we will be right back with our mini movie.
Sounds good.
Yay.
It's time to get excited, short film fans. It's mini movie review time.
Yes, it most definitely is one of my favourite little spots on the show. And we're joined by another guest. This doesn't happen very often that we are joined by somebody else halfway through. But Irish, you have somebody with you.
I do. I have my other executive producer on Legion of Rue and also my writing partner and general partner in life, which is Tim Stewart.
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you. We're glad to be here.
So welcome on, Tim. Really nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you guys too. Been looking forward to taking part in this.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Well, you might think differently at the end.
Did we promise too much?
Yes. You may have regrets soon, but no.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was like, we made you watch a very scary short right before you came on. So, all right, our mini movie today is Lights Out. And this was it's only not even 3 minutes, but I don't want to overhype this, but I think it's honestly the scariest short film I've ever seen. It's It's very short, very well scripted. This was part of a film challenge, and it won quite a few awards. And the short film Lights Out, some of you may be going, that sounds familiar. Yes, this was actually expanded in 2016 to a full feature in theaters release called Lights Out. But this is what started it. And actually, the short film that you can find easily on YouTube was actually directed and written by the same creator, David F. Sandberg, for the full feature release. And I have to throw this out there. Irish, you mentioned you saw the trailer for the new Annabelle film. The same director for Lights Out. Okay. Yeah, is doing the Annabelle film.
Myself. I can tell you why, because it related back to an experience I had staying overnight in the past when I was a teenager in Tim's parents' house. They had a room that I felt was haunted, and every time I would put my head under the covers, and I kept thinking something was going to grab my feet down at the bottom of the bed. So it brought back a lot of, terrifying thoughts for me.
That's scary.
Which is, I guess, what a great horror thing is supposed to do, is to tap into those fears that you have inside of you.
Yes, and this one is very effective. Since it's so short, obviously we can't reveal too much about the story. I can just say, are you afraid of the dark? You'll continue to be afraid of the dark after you watch this short. Leave the lights on. Hide under the covers. That usually seems to help. but you got to stay under the covers.
But Velvet, you may not be able to leave the lights on. Oh, there's a bit of a spoiler.
Oh, God.
There's a bit of a spoiler for you. I really liked it. It plays with all of those ideas of, of our primeval sort of fears of the dark, and it does it really well in such a modern thing, because it's a bit like you said, Irish. I would defy that almost everybody on the planet has had an experience, not really to this level, but has had an experience where they have been late at night, have heard things they can't explain, have seen something they can't quite explain. So in many ways, this really does play to a fear that, in a sense, all of us really have, even if we do or don't believe in ghosts or spirits or demons or whatever it happens to be, but we still all, to some degree, have these fears.
Yes, absolutely. And this totally plays on that, why it's such an effective short. It currently has over 13 million views on YouTube. So, that's a testament that this is a very scary little short film that's worth checking out if you've not seen it. And maybe you've seen the full feature film and you had no idea this was based on a 3-minute short film. Now you know. Just type in Lights Out short film on YouTube and go check it out.
So
tell them Cult Movie Show sent you.
Oh, absolutely do that. But I've got to say, Tim, what did you think of it?
I quite enjoyed it. I have sort of a weird sense of humor in it. I'm thinking of it the whole time. Is this spirit really just needs to get down the hall to the restroom? And
Yes, it would have been interesting to see what, when the film actually ends, what maybe the next sort of 60 seconds were. Maybe the statement really was just a little bit like, you're out of toilet paper.
I don't want to say too much more about it either, because I don't want to ruin it for the people who have not seen it, but I just gotta say that last image has been screen capped so many times, and people are like, "This is the stuff nightmares are made of," and I have to agree.
But it does, of course, remind me so much. It's like if you ever just hop onto YouTube one night or something like that and just type in ghost footage or fake ghost footage or whatever, there is the YouTube is just full of so many of these little clips, some of them really, really well done. I've got to take my hands off to some people.
And some of them are ridiculously, hilariously bad.
Yeah, well, I think one of my favourites was I was late one night and I got quite caught up in it. I got sort of thinking, I wonder what's next. And I just let them all stream through YouTube, ghost sighting in Singapore. Ghost in the cupboard, demon girl in the cupboard or whatever. So I was just letting them all stream. And then there was one that came along and I literally fell over laughing because it just said ghost spotted on stairs, right? And it was just a camera of these stairs. And then suddenly you just see this guy in a white sheet, like it was so bad, literally just walking down the stairs, and you think, what's so funny about that? And then the camera goes back, and I'm just going to say it, all right, but this ghost has a giant boner. It was absolutely hilarious.
That is scary.
The scariest thing I've ever heard of.
It was just absolutely hilarious. Yeah. So, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
I'm always amazed what you can show on YouTube. They're trying to be more and more family friendly, but every once in a while you come across something on YouTube, and I'm like, how is this on YouTube? My friends are like, oh yeah, did you see that video of the woman giving birth? And I'm like, nope, and I won't be watching it. But thanks for letting me know.
Oh dear. But no, definitely, I really liked it. I thought it was good, and obviously people did really like it. Just obviously it turned itself into a full film.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Film, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I actually haven't seen the full films, and that's one of my many films on my to-do list, but I think I'll bump it towards, the top 10, so I can actually get around to finally watching it.
That's the dream for all small filmmakers, though, is to do a short like that and have it turn into something amazing, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we are going to then be back with our first film review. Sorry, we're running late, I know. But anyway, with our first film review, so we will be right back if the filler will play. I always have... Oh, there we go. We're playing. That's all right. All right, so our first movie for this show is... this is an interesting one, and I'll just say, I'll just say interesting for now, anyway, until we'll start talking about it. And it's a British movie from 1954, directed by David MacDonald, called Devil Girl from Mars, and it is a sci-fi film, but its origins are very, very interesting, but we'll get to that in just a sec. So the short rundown of this is it's set in a hotel sort of / pub in Scotland, and it's meant to be in the height of winter, so basically the hotel isn't open, it's closed, but it's still got a handful of guests in it. Now, there's a meteor which is being spotted, which has landed very close by to where this hotel is. And so a scientist and a journalist are sent, I'm assuming from Edinburgh, I can't quite remember where they said they came from, are actually sent to go and investigate. Now, in the meantime, we also have a criminal who escapes from prison and tries to track down his girlfriend who is working at the hotel. And all of our people will come together in the hotel, and then something very weird will happen. And that is that a flying saucer will land outside the hotel, and they will be greeted by a guest who is Naya. She is a Martian. Yes, she is from Mars. And she will come to announce her terrible plot, which is that she has come to basically steal men from Earth to help repopulate Mars, because all the men on Mars are becoming impotent or some such thing. So she needs viable specimens to take back to Mars. Now. So this is basically our whole thing, and our people in the hotel will try to fight back to stop her carrying out her evil plot. But we will find out certain things about Mars that we didn't know about. Well, first of all, we find out that there's life on Mars. Second of all, we find out that they've just fought a civil war between men and women, and the women won. So now women rule Mars, and this may have something to do with the reason why the men can no longer reproduce and why they need new
They've been emasculated.
That's right. They're weak now.
Now, despite the fact that we are obviously two totally different species, but they seem to have got around that fact that we can actually reproduce. So that's interesting within itself. But then, of course, our movie will play out about will or won't our guests at the hotel be able to stop Naya and her evil plan. What did everybody think of Devil Girl from Mars?
So our guest Irish actually selected this film. Irish, I have to say this was an excellent selection for the show.
Thank you so much. I saw it and immediately thought of you all.
I was highly entertained by this film. It is so cheaply done, but it's one of those movies. It falls into that category of it's so bad, it's good. This is really entertaining for all the wrong reasons.
Well, let me say, though, like, overall for the whole movie, if you took out all of the sci-fi elements of this movie completely, if you just removed them and shuffled the story around slightly, I feel like it would have been like a very charming classic British film, like the Welsh film How Green Was My Valley, that sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
It had the potential to have charm, and then came Naya. It's good because it had all these great little storylines that we're building with the escaping of the criminal and coming back to see his girlfriend and the things that were happening and the whole storyline could have been stories in and of themselves. But then all of this sci-fi stuff dropped in all of a sudden. This great spaceship.
I know. Well, one of the things that needs to be pointed out actually is that this movie was taken from a stage play. That's what's so unusual about it. This was actually a stage play, and if you watch the way the movie shot, you can really see that it was originally a stage play.
That explains so much now.
That does, actually. I thought it was just because it was a low budget, but no, that explains a lot. The whole walking back and forth 50 million times, which was weird. So it's like, okay, first off, I love the spaceship. The spaceship was absolutely amazing. It's this rotating pie tin. And it's noise. Yes. And okay, it is noisy as hell though. That really bothered me. Okay, when it lands, it does this noisy hum and whistle. It literally gave me a headache. I was wearing headphones. I had headphones plugged into my laptop watching this, and oh my god, it literally gave me a headache. I had to turn down the volume because it goes on for like a solid 2 minutes, and people are yelling over the humming and the buzzing.
It go on
to decide what it is, and I'm like, oh my god, I've got a headache. But yeah,
it was a very long spaceship intro scene. It was.
Yes. Well, it was. I think it was a little bit like this. There's only really two special effects we can afford in this, and that is the spaceship landing and taking off, and the robot. And so we're going to make the absolute most we can out of the money that we've spent. So basically, it won't land in 30 seconds. It'll take 7 minutes to land.
And yeah, there is a robot in this movie, and I have to say that robot was also quite fantastic. That was really entertaining. That was definitely a guy in a very oversized, possibly rubber cardboard suit. But at first you're like, oh god, that looks so funny. But then it was super tall. That was like 7 or 8 feet tall, it looked like. And they have this guy this robot walking down a ramp. And he's evidently afraid he's going to fall because he can't see shit.
He's tiny little baby steps down the ramp.
it's just the people's reactions, though, crack me up. Because they could have just literally walked up to him and knocked him over. But they're just standing there waiting for the robot to walk down very slowly. And they're just like, oh, my God, the horror, the humanity. You know, it's just like, wow.
One of the reasons why it's so big is because it's actually half person, half mechanical. Like, they actually, I don't know if it's just because it was British, I don't know. They actually went and put real mechanical devices inside this thing. So when its head sort of lights up and when its arms move and stuff, that's not the actor. That's actually a mechanical device.
Oh my God.
Right,
That must have been miserable to wear.
So
did not know how to spend their prop budget.
Yeah. It's amazing. But when we say that, or talk about how they did this movie was made very, very cheaply. But which you can tell, obviously. But what's also very interesting about this is that it was decided, and they followed through on it, 0 retakes.
Oh, wow. Really?
So every single scene in this movie was first take.
Wow,
that's amazing.
That's actually for a first take only movie. That's actually quite well done. I mean, we're laughing, but there's a lot of really deep stuff in this movie about lifelong relationships. Like the husband and the wife have been together forever, and then the complicated love situation, like this guy marries the wrong woman, he ends up accidentally murdering her, and then he goes to be the woman he wants to be with, but he's an escaped convict, so I'm like, there's a lot of shit going on in this movie. Then all of a sudden there's like a woman from Mars. Then all of a sudden there's a woman from Mars that needs human seed to feed her planet.
I know.
And then what killed me is that she started to take the child. It's like, what are you doing with that woman?
I was disturbed by that. I was like, hey now, wait a second. Wait, what are you doing to him? What's going to happen?
Like, let's brought him back, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, she kept taking men and bringing them back, and that's what corrected me too. So, she accidentally kind of like crash lands in Scotland because she was on her way to London, because that's where all the prime breeding stock is in London.
1954's smoke-infested, smog-infested London. That's where you're going to find your prime male specimens.
I loved how she kept going to her ship and then just like wandering back and standing in their doorway like 4 or 5 different times throughout the film. It's like all she did was walk back and forth between her ship and the inn all over the movie.
Okay, she can fly a spaceship, but she can't fucking teleport. I mean, like, do they not have? Maybe she wanted the exercise, but she looks like a dominatrix. That must have been. She must.
That's exactly what I thought. Because when he said that she said she was going to take the men back, and the guy said, "And if they won't go," and I thought, "Please, dude, she's a Martian dominatrix. Somebody's go."
I know, but I think that whole idea of her walking backwards and forwards from the spaceship was simply because they were just redoing the script from the stage show. So that was basically her just entering stage left, leaving stage left, right? So. I mean,
she speaks the Naya, our Martian, our devil girl from Mars. She speaks perfect English, and they address this in the movie. They say you speak English.
All languages, Velvet.
Yeah, she speaks all languages. They address this in the movie. They're like, "You speak English?" She's like, "Of course." And they're like, she's like, "That's what you speak, so that's what I'm speaking."
But it's still
okay. They need to do this in every movie that's ever made now to address why aliens speak our language. They speak all languages, and you're speaking English, so it's going to speak English.
But it's the whole amazing thing is that they go to this depth to explain why she speaks English, but they don't explain why the fuck she looks exactly like a human being. And she's from Mars. That doesn't seem to bother them at all, you know?
Okay, seriously. Okay, now, okay, let me say this. Okay, say that Martians exist and they are humanoid. They're very similar to us or look exactly like us.
But they
are you
can't
wear
Velvet.
Black rubber clothes on a hot ass planet? Are you going to wear?
Well, I mean, it's
latex. You're going to sweat yourself to death.
Well, we don't
fashion shame them, Velvet.
I mean, look, that's
no, I'm all for it. I love it. I think it's a good look for her. I'm just thinking it's uncomfortable in the Martian.
We don't really know, what the Martian Armanis and the Martian Hugo Bosses and the Martian Versaces. We don't really know what they're like. I mean, maybe black leather is to them, it's like linen, I mean, it's just...
I guess it does get cold in space. I mean, that intergalactic travel. So, that might, rubber might be the way to go.
So, thus the short shorts and go-go boots.
Yes. Oh, dearie me.
With the Magneto helmet.
Yes. But
and a cape.
But one thing is that some people have actually compared this very much to a cheap-ass version of The Day the Earth Stood Still, which which was released, of course, in 1951. Now, the interesting thing is that the makers of this movie freely admit that they stole from The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and in fact, one of the things about Naya was that whereas in what was it? The Day the Earth Stood Still. I've forgotten the name of the character. Is it Christopher? I'm not too sure who's the main star.
You'll have to forgive me. I've forgotten too.
In The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now, he, of course, is meant to be Jesus Christ, because, of course,
sorry.
No, I'm serious. I'm being deadly serious. The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original movie, not that stupid Keanu Reeves friggin' remake. But the original movie is meant to be the story of Christ. Well, if you believe in Christ. But anyway, it's meant to be the story of Christ, right? So,
okay.
And that's the whole idea, because in the story of Christ, he comes to earth, he tries to save the people, that he's punished for that, he's killed, he's put into a cave or whatever, and then he re-emerges reborn. Now, that's exactly what happens in The Day the Earth Stood Still, just the spaceship rather than a cave. And he's an alien rather than the Son of God, right? So, and the filmmakers freely admit that it was the story of Jesus Christ. But what they tried to do, they tried to spin this movie and say this was the story of Mary. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. Now,
Mary was a horny bitch.
Okay, now I'm not. Now I'm not.
Now that I've offended. Please go on, Warren.
Now, well, I'll just say that I'm not religious. I'm not a Christian. But I know a little bit about the story of Mary, and I don't think this has anything whatsoever to do.
I don't at all either. I do not either.
So I really think that was a little bit of like, well, let's just try to play with that movie and see if we can get some extra bums on seats. I mean, really.
No, this movie was really entertaining. I had a lot of fun watching this. I wrote so many little notes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so they even had kind of like an Igor character. Like, I like to call him Igor. That's really politically incorrect. There was a physically handicapped person in this movie, but they were putting him off kind of like as a nobody. Like, he works for the hotel. He gives everybody the creeps. And I don't think he even has any lines in the movie, or he has like one line in the entire movie. And what happens is the devil girl sees him, and she says, "This specimen is inferior." And she vaporizes him with her laser gun. And I'm like, wow, they killed Igor. That's actually really cruel. That poor dude didn't do nothing to nobody. And yeah, he just had a sad life. But that was evidently the point of his role in this movie, was to show that she could vaporize people with her little ray gun.
Which she never used again.
I know. She never used it again. And if you also notice that their way that they would try to deal with every problem that confronted them was, let's open the bar and have a scotch. Did you notice that was
Scotland? Yes.
That was the way they solved every problem, and I swear, in every second scene, they're drinking scotch.
I'm not sure what your problem is with that one.
No, I've got no problem. I mean, as a great Scotch lover myself, and I think basically the first thing I would do if Nia walked in the front door would probably pour myself a Scotch.
But you might want to try to pour her one too, because that woman was like 26 going on 62. She was like so uptight.
She looked more like she looked more like a vodka girl to me, but I don't know.
I think you're right. Vodka, straight, no ice. No ice. She's got enough of ice.
I mean, all she was missing was a Russian accent, and we would have been set.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. She should have totally had a Russian accent. Totally.
Absolutely. But the other thing too is that for one thing I was quite surprised about with this film was one of the main actors in this is John Laurie. Now, John Laurie was a huge British actor, basically through the 40s, 30s, 50s, 60s, 70s. He was a Shakespearean actor. And I was amazed that he was actually in this very low budget film, because he was so well known. I mean, this guy was huge. And in fact, if you don't know who John Laurie is, if you ever watch the original TV series Dad's Army, he's the guy who plays Jock, the Scot, in Dad's Army. So I was really amazed that John Laurie, who had acted with people like bloody Elizabeth Taylor and and Richard Burton, was actually in this movie.
It's amazing when actors do roles like this. I don't know if like somehow they just got suckered into the script, like they were promised this amazing script and they're like, shit, I'm already here and I've already signed it and I don't want to get sued if I back out. Or if he just has a good sense of humor and he wanted to have some fun with it, because this is a fun movie.
Yes.
There was even a little shout out to the Loch Ness Monster in this. I love that they mentioned it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we got to mention, they're like, don't say nothing about Nessie. She's done a lot of good for this country. I thought that was really cute. And I love the Loch Ness Monster. Eventually we'll do a movie, a bad movie that's so good, about a Loch Ness Monster on here.
Oh, well, not Loch Ness, because that's terrible. I don't know if...
Oh, no, not that one.
No, that's shocking.
No,
that's
shockingly terrible.
I mean, Loch Ness, oh my God.
Catwoman bad.
Yeah.
There is, there's a lot of funny stuff in here. Like, okay, so we had the escaped convict that ends up at this inn because the woman of his, dreams, the woman he's in love with, actually works at this inn. And at one point they're talking about escaping together, and the woman says, "Let's go abroad," and he goes, "Ireland." And I'm like, wow, that's
that
really
is
far.
abroad. Well,
that's really far.
It's still abroad.
That's like me saying to somebody, okay, I'm in the United States, let's go abroad, and they go, Canada.
Well,
wow, yeah. That's far. That's far. Okay, yeah, let's do that. And where do you want to go after Canada? Mexico. Can we leave the fucking continent? Can we go abroad?
But he does actually bring up a good point, though, and that is that when you think about it, he says, well, you need a passport. And, of course, you didn't need a passport in the 50s to go to Ireland.
But he should have said that first, because first he said Ireland, and I'm like, oh, you don't like to travel much, do you? But then he said the passport excuse, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get you're a convict. You can't have paperwork.
He had no money.
And no money. No
True.
paperwork, no money.
But they didn't
go too far.
Yeah, I know. No passport, no money. I mean, what are they going to do? Swim? I mean,
They can catch a ride on Nessie's back.
Yeah.
The Scots.
Yeah. Oh, dearie me.
Goodness.
So, what's everyone's sort of wrap up on Devil Girl from Mars?
Oh my God, let's talk about the ending really quick before we kill this one, because
right.
Oh my God, that ending is the most lazy writing I've ever seen. But I was like, okay, so finally, for whatever reason, the Devil Girl's like, okay, I need men, but she takes one out of the group of men. She takes the convict, because, he's the best specimen you can get out of all these guys. Take him
the guy who murdered his wife.
I know.
Exactly. So they go up in the ship into space, and then once they get up really high, the ship explodes, and all the people in the inn go, "He sabotaged the ship!" I'm like, what?
I know.
Wait, what happened? Why did it blow up? Wait, what do you mean he sabotaged it? What happened? So yeah, and I also thought it was strange that for such a big mission, repopulating your planet, aren't you going to send more than one Martian to do that?
That's what I thought was great. It was just her and the robot in this big empty ship with nowhere to sit down.
Yes.
It was like space for all the men. Space for all. It was like a big
empty TARDIS.
Yes.
With no chairs. There was definitely a lack of seating.
I have to admit, the interior does actually look a lot like. Did actually remind me a lot of the modern day TARDIS from Doctor Who. Actually, yeah,
it Peter Capaldi, you know.
Yeah, it was actually kind of quite similar. Not to the original TV series, but definitely to the current TV series, yeah. It really did. It really did. But the other thing, too, is the convict, okay? It's like, okay, the scientist has an idea of how to sabotage the ship. How did the convict know how to do it? I mean...
we will never know.
I mean, was the convict actually some sort of astrophysicist or something that we didn't know about? I mean...
No, he was just an astro because he murdered people.
Yeah.
Well, he murdered women, so possibly he just murdered her and then somehow
the ship exploded when she died.
That's right. That's how he did it. And she took him because he was a strong man. He killed that girl.
Oh, dear.
There you go.
And
we're making fun of this, but actually it was an interesting way of self-redemption that he had murdered somebody, so he gave his own life to save humanity. So, I mean, that's actually a pretty bold move. That's actually really well, nicely thought out to resolve the convicts, situation. But the way they, just all of a sudden, the ship blows up and, he sabotaged the ship! We're saved! And I was like,
well, they spent a lot of time trying to make you feel sorry for this guy and like him, but then they had that whole creepy scene with that other female character and him in the garden where he was super creepy to her. He was like, I thought you were stuck up in the beginning, but now I see you're a nice person.
Yeah. I know.
What is happening here?
Yeah, the way he was holding her wrist the entire time he's talking to her, and I'm not a fan of a random man holding me by the wrist and talking to me. I'm like, unless I know him. I'm like, even then,
I don't want to hurt anybody.
I don't want to hurt anybody, but I'm just going to hold you by the wrist so you can't escape.
Did we also notice, too, how the reporter and the model who was staying in the hotel fall in love, madly in love, within 60 minutes
of meeting it?
Yeah.
Over nothing.
Yeah.
I know.
Over nothing. Yeah. You know what? When you think the world's going to end and they're going to take away all the breeding stock, I guess you grab onto whatever's there.
Well, she'd been having that thing with the married guy, so maybe she was just one of those women that just globbed onto whatever man was close enough. You never know.
But see,
here's
some women are like
options. Yeah, that's a shame. That woman has options.
I know, but here's the other thing, though, that's sort of amazing about this film, is it starts to deal with interesting subjects and then goes nowhere with them. Like, for instance, the whole idea of their romance, okay, between the model and the reporter, is that, I mean, he even makes the comment to her towards the end where he said, if we hadn't have... if this hadn't have happened and we just had have met, we wouldn't have fallen in love. It was what was going on, around us that sort of drew us together. Now, that's a really interesting topic within itself, that, extreme situations can draw people together who normally wouldn't be drawn together. But we're given about 3 minutes of that, and that's it. But that topic in itself is fascinating.
It's almost, a Stockholm Syndrome type of thing where you're in a stressful situation with other people and it bonds you to them. So,
yeah.
You can see that, but not, totally Stockholm, but you know what I'm saying.
There was also a lot of interesting science talk in here. They talk about stuff like organic metal and fusion and self-propagating and basically self-healing spaceship. I mean, a lot of really interesting concepts. And I almost, forgot that they mentioned even, maybe someday people will visit the moon. This movie's from 1954. We had not visited the moon yet. So I thought that was actually neat that they actually mentioned that in this movie. Hey, maybe we'll do that someday. And we did. Like, or supposedly, I don't know. It depends if you're into the conspiracy.
That's a whole other podcast, Velvet.
Yes, the conspiracy theory movies. Oh, yes.
Well, you know, the moon's just a hologram, people. Come on, and the Earth is flat. Come on.
That's right. We've never been to the moon. The mirror that's up there just miraculously got there somehow or other. You know, yeah.
It's just a shiny rock. Come on.
I know. Deary me. Oh, dearie me. Actually, it is interesting. You think about it, how many conspiracy theories have been actually placed into movies? You know, what is it? Area 51, the moon landings, the, what is it? The face on Mars, the pyramids on Mars.
Roswell.
Roswell. I mean, all of these conspiracy theories have, I mean, pretty much all of them to a degree have been turned into movies.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love those. Unfortunately, the movies usually suck so bad. Like, they're getting worse and worse. They used to put effort into these conspiracy movies. Now they're just getting really bad. Like, they did the Phoenix Light one, what is that, Phoenix Remembered? That one's horrendous. And it's supposed to be found footage. And I'm just like, no, you guys messed it up. But...
Yeah, they used to put effort into the conspiracies too, Velvet, but now they're just silly. So,
well, actually, that's
you can't expect more than that for the film.
Well, here's an interesting one that goes back to what we were originally talking about at the start of the show. Is obviously a very famous movie with a conspiracy theory in it is Independence Day, because it has Area 51, right, and Roswell in it, right. But of course the sequel finally came out. 20 years later. What did everyone think about that? That was one I was going to mention and I forgot.
I actually didn't see it, so I'm going off of reviews alone, unfortunately, so I'll let you guys comment on it.
Have you seen it, Irish, the sequel to Independence Day?
I have. Tim and I watched it pretty recently. Actually, he's seen it, I think, twice now since I have, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a great popcorn flick. I mean, it's essentially a rehashing of the very first one. It's almost the same type of way that they deal with the alien in the first place or in the end of it, but it's enjoyable. It's a great popcorn flick, and it's good to see Jeff Goldblum on screen at any time.
Oh, I agree. I love Jeff. He's fantastic. And the other thing, too, I loved about Independence Day 2 is they got rid of all the American-centricness about the original movie, and they made it then a global effort rather than just America, which I
now
think,
the whole world can't celebrate the 4th of July, Warren.
Yeah, I know. Don't get me started on that line.
Well, honestly, I mean, they say that there is nothing that would bring us together as a people, a global people, faster than an invasion by aliens. All of a sudden, our borders would mean nothing anymore.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what I did like about the second one, that those borders had now fallen, like they'd gone away. So you're exactly right. But the thing was, because of course, there's the classic line in the original movie which pissed everybody off outside of the United States, where I actually saw people in the audience boo in the cinema.
Over which line?
From now on, the world will celebrate the 4th of July as Independence Day.
Oh,
I see.
We love that line, but then you go international and you're like, oh yeah, you're right. That's so offensive. How could they?
When I actually saw it at the cinema, I can remember when that line was said. I reckon probably about 10% of the audience actually hear this. Oh fuck!
Oh, that's a shame.
And there was actually one, and this is no offense to you guys, okay? As I'm not trying to have a crack. Please, okay, all right.
Okay,
I'm not.
Team USA.
Yeah, I know USA. No, so I'm not trying to. Please don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not trying to do that. But there was actually one guy in the audience who actually yelled out at the screen, "Septics." Now,
what does that mean?
That's septics. Septics is a derogatory term Australians use for Americans.
Oh.
Septic is okay.
Are we a septic system? What's
no.
Mean,
It's Australian slang. Okay, so it goes from Americans are called Yanks, and there is a thing called a septic tank on a toilet. So it rhymes with Yank. So the offensive term in Australia is septic.
Okay. I don't. get the logic, but okay, I know what it means now.
Yeah, that
Australian slang, that is a foreign language in itself.
Oh, trust me, Australian slang, you need a course to learn it. I think when people become citizens in Australia, they're actually taken off for a 4-week course on learning slang.
That should totally happen.
Because we talk in slang. That's the way we talk to each other. I mean,
no, that's great though. I think that's really cool. I love that. But, I definitely every once in a while
today.
We have to ask Warren. He'll tell us. We'll ask him what's that mean, and he'll let us know, and then we'll be like, now I'm sorry I asked. No.
But that was.
I guarantee you, though, Warren, that not one single American even considered the fact that line might have upset anybody else anywhere in the world.
Oh no!
Americans don't think about any other place.
Nope, they don't.
And the other thing too is intelligent people know very well that an American movie is made for American audiences first, and then foreign sales is simply just an addition. Right, so I mean, it never. I mean, that line never offended me, but I can really understand how it offended so many other people.
Right,
but
totally.
But I think the thing that I loved about the second one was they took all of that on board and they made a unified world, and it was much better.
That's cool.
I really liked it. I really liked it.
Okay, I need to watch it just so I've seen it. That way, I'm able to comment on this when this comes up.
Yeah,
so Devil Girl from Mars took place in Scotland. But it was, again, very well because even though she was headed to London, this was going to affect the entire world if she started So what are the consequences if she starts taking breeding stock from Earth? What was going to happen? So we're going to have a bunch of men on Mars? I mean, was she just going to take a handful of men from, Earth? I'm not saying that's okay, but I'm like, what was the consequence?
They never really went into population densities or housing projects or, So, look, I have to ask Tim, what did you think about it?
Who? Me?
No, Tim.
Oh, Tim didn't get a chance to see that one.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
I thought that's why Tim was being so quiet. I was like, I don't think Tim got to see this one. But, no. But it's a fun movie. It's so good it's bad. I mean, it's really worth actually checking out. If you like any kind of these sci-fi aliens trying to take over the world or trying to breed with our world type movies, I think it's worth checking out. It's so bad it's good. It's funny. It's funny.
If you're into old movies and if you're into cult-style movies, it's got to be seen. It's got to be put on your wish list, put it that way.
I agree. I agree wholeheartly.
Most definitely. All right, so if we are going to rate it, as we always do in Eric Roberts points, 0 to 5 Erics, how many Erics were we going to give this little doozy?
Okay, so of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, I'm going to give this 3 Eric Roberts. Again, it's so bad it's good. It's worth checking out. Is it a masterpiece? Definitely not. Is it entertaining? Yes.
Excellent. What about you, Irish? How many Erics would you rate it?
I'm going to give it 4 because, one, I thought the rest of the storyline was super charming, and I had to give one extra Eric Roberts for just the landing and practical effects of the spaceship alone. Because that to me was just the best. I laughed out loud. I literally said, "This is the best." I was watching it. So I'm going to go with 4.
I was laughing out loud at the robot. That was the one that got me, was the robot.
The baby steps.
Well,
I can literally walk up to it and push it over.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go somewhere in between. I'm going to give it 3.5 Erics. I was sort of thinking to myself, I was going to give it 3 out of 5 Erics. But then because it's got John Laurie in it, I had to give it half a point extra. Because I love John Laurie. I thought he was fantastic. So 3.5 Erics from me.
Excellent. All right, Devil Girl from Mars. And we forgot to even mention the fucking title. Okay, she's a Martian, but they're calling her a Devil Girl. It's just a strange title, and then a couple times in the movies they're saying she's a devil because she's evil. But anyway, weird title, but I love it.
Oh, wouldn't be the first.
Taking away men to fornicate. So.
I hear men make good for snoo.
Yeah, for a movie from 1954 where an alien is going to pick up men for breeding stock, I mean, I don't know if that means they're just going to literally milk them like a cow or if they're going to fuck their brains out.
I don't entire genre of films from the 50s and 60s and 40s, though. I mean, honestly, women, Amazon women stealing men away for breeding purposes. There is bound to be an entire genre built around films like that. Now I am curious to go search them out. Well, I want to know what they are.
This is something we didn't touch on, and that is that there are a plethora of Amazon women on the moon movies where astronauts land on but it tends to be the moon, not Mars, right? But they where astronauts land on the moon to find that it's inhabited all by women. There are so many of these types of movies. The only difference with this one is that the Amazon woman in this style actually came to Earth rather than us going to them. But you're right. There's a ton of them, Irish. There is so many of them. I mean, I don't know if you'd call them male fantasy movies, because Hollywood or even the British film industry at this stage, would have been totally 100% dominated by men.
Absolutely.
It's interesting though. It's definitely interesting. All right. Anyway, okay, we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back with. We're going to come a little bit further into the future, but still quite a bit in the past.
Brought back terrible memories from high school for me.
Oh God!
The shoulder pads.
The hair.
Yes.
Slang. MTV.
Now, our last offering for the show is from 1988 and from the United States. So, still a while ago, but we've sort of come a few years into the future from Devil Girl from Mars. And this is Heathers, directed by, Michael Lehman. And it's a really interesting little film. It did not do well at the box office when it first came out. I think it cost them $3 million to make, and they got a $1 million return at the box office, so it wasn't highly successful. But what saved this movie's ass and actually turned it into a cult classic was VHS rentals. And it became incredibly popular and apparently rented itself to death. It was really, really popular through the home viewing market. So our story is basically set in an American high school in, now, pardon me, guys, is it Iowa or Ohio? Is it
Ohio?
Ohio. Okay.
You were close.
Okay, there we go. So pardon my ignorance here. So it deals with our group of girls who are called the Heathers, three of them all named Heather, and Veronica, who are sort of like our what do you call them? Head girls,
mean girls.
Mean
now they would
girls,
call them mean girls.
Mean girls.
Yeah, mean girls.
They're the Mean Girls. It was Mean Girls for our generation.
Yeah. And they basically dominate the school, along with obviously I think you guys call them the jocks, the sports people, and that means a different thing in Australia.
No, it means the same thing here.
Oh, does it? Okay. Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, there are a bunch of jock straps running around.
Okay.
They've got no brains. Yeah, they've got no brains. They're just dumb sports athletes. They're jocks. I mean, look how they were represented in the movie. They were dumbasses.
And we have our new student who's just transferred into the school, Jason, who's sort of like the outsider. He's the dark, black, sort of cool, hip, attractive young guy that honestly, would fit into any I'm trying to think, any high school movie, if you like.
Right.
Now, he and Veronica start to form a relationship, and we start to learn that Veronica is not very happy with being part of the Heathers. She's not really happy being in this group, and starts to come up with, I suppose, we start to see into her thoughts and her dreams about and also her writings in her diary about a way that she can maybe deal with this. But when meeting Jason is able to put these thoughts into reality. And a certain, shall we say, killing spree starts within the school, masqueraded as suicides. And these suicides will keep happening and keep happening. And in the end, it becomes fashionable, almost fashionable, to suicide. You can't be cool unless you suicide. And anyone that does suicide sort of becomes cool. And that is actually portrayed by one girl in this movie who is extremely unpopular, who actually will try to, I think the only person in this movie who will actually try to take their own life voluntarily, which I think is an interesting bit about the film we can get to in a sec.
Right.
So anyway, this will go on and on and on until Veronica decides that she really can't put up with this any longer. All that's happening is you're killing off one bad person who is then being replaced by another bad person. You're not solving the problem at all. And she just wants to be out of it, totally out of it. And it will then come, of course, to our great crescendo when Jason comes up with his plot for, shall we say, mass suicide of the school.
Whoa.
And how, of course, then will our heroine, Veronica, deal with that. So what's everyone's thoughts about Heathers?
Irish, Tim?
I think it's a great social commentary on just the way people think, the shallowness of people and stuff. I just think, like, I loved the line when she said, "I hate my friends. They're like people I work with, and our job is to be popular or something."
Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a great way to look at it, honestly, because if you think about the way these girls were, that was really their job. That's all they cared about. That's what they worked for all the time. And I've seen it in real life. I've seen people that are like that. And it's just awful.
Absolutely.
But I just think it's such a great dark film, but filled with some really great lines. It's a great script.
It is. Well, in fact, it's described as a black comedy. And because you can actually see, especially with the parents, in many ways, the parents are great comic relief in this.
Mm-hmm. I think her parents, Veronica's parents, are the best comic relief in the entire thing.
Oh, yes. Would you like pate Irish?
I loved the repetition that their entire relationship was built around this conversation that repeated itself over and over again, and until she had her little breakdown where she accuses them of patronizing bunny rabbits, patronizing bunny rabbits. And her father's response to that, "I do not patronize bunny rabbits." He was so offended that she would have insinuated that he might have done that.
Like the parents in this movie, because we don't see a lot of actual parents. We see a lot of like the school staff and the students. And then when we do see the parents, they seem to be almost to the point where they think their kids are adults, kind of. It's kind of like they're letting them kind of parent themselves. They're so minimal presence in there. They're like, okay, we have dinner together every night. That's it. And then you have even Christian Slater's father in this movie. He's kind of just like, he keeps calling his son, hey, Dad. So it's kind of insinuating that they're letting the kids raise themselves. They're not really doing the whole parenting thing anymore. Somewhere along the line, they decided their kids are old enough to take care of themselves. We'll give you a roof over your head and food, but other than that, you're pretty much on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought Christian Slater and his dad's relationship was really interesting, just in general, and the whole knocking on the door and hey, Dad, I could really use some help with my homework, and it's not now, sport, I'm busy. It was this really weird relationship I thought they had created between the two of them,
and it was a really weird passive aggressive tension between them, and you get a hint at what's going on with that, but you don't know exactly. And I would love to know more about exactly what's going on there. But obviously, one of the things was the son did not feel loved, which, sorry guys, spoiler, this movie's from 1988, so there's going to be some spoilers in this, but Christian Slater's character didn't feel loved, so evidently, he lost one parent, and then, like, his dad treats him like he's the parent, like he's supposed to take care of himself, so, like, he didn't have this nurturing environment, so really,
his father's a horrible human being.
Yes, his father was a fucking sociopath, and he wasn't a pyromaniac. He was an explosion maniac. What do you call that?
He was a demolition. Yeah, it was a demolition. He ran a demolition company.
Yeah, demolition maniac.
Yeah, he
liked
was
to blow
just a
shit up.
person.
Yeah, he was horrible.
What was he like? He liked to blow up buildings and build new ones. Yeah.
So he could blow him up later.
Maybe he's running for president later on. I don't know. But one thing I had to say was that I'd forgotten how baggy clothing was in the 1980s.
Yeah, this is a time capsule for the height of 80s fashion in this movie. The fucking hairstyles, oh my god, yeah, just the makeup, the hairstyles, the eyebrows, oh my god,
This movie came out the year I graduated from high school.
Nice.
Those were the things that we wore.
Yes, but the height of fashion.
In Nashville, where we went to high school, the hair was even bigger, so everybody was permed. Plus, then you used a can of Aquanet or White Rain a day to get it to stand up in a huge dome around your face.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, the hair. I remember women using so much fucking hairspray in the 80s that you would see little moisture beads that had dried into these little white balls in their hair. It's just gross.
I could never do it. All the girls at my school had done it. I just could never get my hair to do that.
Be glad you didn't miss out on anything. They have all those horrible photos haunting them now. Well, you don't have those.
I have plenty of those.
Well, this brings up a really interesting point, because it's like all American sort of teenage school movies, if you like, is that no one ever wears a uniform, right? Like everybody. Right. Now, where I grew up, everybody wears a uniform when they go to school, right? So this is something that for me is really, really interesting. It's like, and I'd really like to ask you guys, it's like, what was that like going to school in America where you don't wear uniforms? Because it does exist.
Does exist. In private schools, if you pay to go to a private school, you have to wear a uniform. In public school, you wear wherever the fuck you want. But there is that social pressure. I don't know how it is nowadays. Now it's probably even worse. But for me as a kid growing up, the pressure was at the beginning of the school year, you always had to go shopping for your clothes for the semester. And sometimes you didn't have much of a budget if you weren't very well off. So but that was always the pressure that you have to have new clothes every semester.
Well, and see, that's the thing now. Our son, who's just graduating from high school this next Saturday, he's worn a uniform throughout his entire school career here in public school. So here in Florida, they do that to equalize the masses. So all the kids are the same.
Oh,
now, when you and I were going to school, it was a lot of things where you did go school shopping, and if you could afford the designer clothes, you had those things. And if you couldn't afford them, you didn't have them. And it was a very obvious way to distinguish class. Yeah, and so they were trying to keep that from happening now.
Right. It was definitely the haves and the have-nots. And, you did your shopping before school, and then you had your re-up for the wardrobe during the Christmas holiday.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Now, for me, my family was not well off when we were growing up, and I was never able to have those designer clothes or things like that. So for me, it was great to see kids going into uniform in public school. But they still find a way to distinguish between class because they only have to wear certain colors of things, and there's still brand names that they can buy. So
you look for the insignia.
Yeah, now it's the golf shirt with the insignia of what, so it didn't really solve the problem completely.
Interesting.
Yeah, see, because where I grew up, it's always been very different. Not to go to a school in Australia where you don't have to wear a uniform is actually very, very uncommon. Even all the government schools, you still have to wear a uniform. Quite often they will play with it a little bit. They'll let people add and remove and so forth. But there's still a basic uniform, like there's shirts and pants and ties for the boys, or the girls there's a dress, or some such thing. So it's always been fascinating for me to watch that. I've just always found it quite fascinating.
I think it allowed for a lot of individual expression, but I think it also caused a lot of problems in social anxiety in teenagers who are already trying to fit into situations that they feel uncomfortable in.
Yeah,
right.
So,
but this is the other thing, though, I was going to ask, is that in all of these styles of movies, all the kids are... Now, I know that you actually, in America, you can drive a car at a much younger age than you can in a lot of other countries, but all of them seem to drive cars and go out on dates on weeknights. They're out at late at night on a Wednesday night and stuff like this. Does that really happen, or is that just movies?
I think that happened in this movie because the parents were letting the kids raise themselves. They were doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do. The parents were like, "Oh, you're in high school now. You're an adult," and they weren't really. But I think that's more movies. Because there was no way my mother was letting me drive around after midnight on a Wednesday night when I was 16 or 17. That was not happening. That's why I'm so wild now. But
I'm looking at my husband here because his parents let him do those sorts of things because he lived in a small town where...
And I was a very trustworthy child. I was.
I don't know why that's funny, but it is.
I know why it's funny, Velvet.
I saw an amazing documentary once, and it was from Denmark, and it followed the lives of 3 Korean orphans who, through the UN, had been resettled and brought up in Danish families. So they looked Korean, but they were Danish, if you know what I mean.
Right.
They only spoke Danish and English. They didn't speak Korean. All of their life, everything was Danish, and they sent them back to Korea to go to school and to see how they would. And it was absolutely fascinating seeing there were 2 boys and 1 girl, and the girl went in and she gave a talk to the class, and she's there and they sort of said, "Oh, what's your school day like?" And she said, "Oh, we start, I don't know, about 8 o'clock, finish about 3, and then might go off and meet up with some friends, and we get some beers, and we have a couple of beers, and we talk, might catch up with my boyfriend," and all this sort of stuff. And these Korean girls are sitting there with their mouths literally wide open, and they're like going, "You drink alcohol? You're allowed to have a boyfriend?" And and the culture shock between them was just amazing. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was just absolutely amazing.
Sorry, that just sounds cruel to me that they sent them back like that.
It's just absolutely
I'm not saying
amazing.
because there's anything wrong with Korea. I don't mean it like that, so I don't want anybody listening to think I mean it like that. But to take a child out of the only culture they know and say, "Well, you look this way, so you should be in that country." I mean, I don't know. Was it supposed to be an exchange here, or what the fuck?
No. It was a it was actually a really serious documentary. It was talking about the fact that it's not about how you're born, it's about how you're raised. So the whole idea was you could have a Korean who was raised in Denmark. They weren't Korean anymore. They were Danish.
Okay, so they weren't like leaving them there. It was
no.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought they ripped her out of Denmark. Like, okay, time to go back to Sweden.
No. The Danes don't do shit like that. So.
Okay, that's what I was like. I was like, "God, that's awful."
No. But it was fascinating to see the different cultures between 2 school kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Like one from Scandinavia to one in Asia. It was just absolutely fascinating to see. Anyway, we are really digressing off this movie.
Okay. All right, Heathers. So this movie has a lot of themes in it. So we've already talked about peer pressure. There's a lot of peer pressure to do drugs, to go to parties, to keep up appearances, to have sex with people you don't even really like. There's even a date rape scene in this movie, and it's really strange the way it's glossed over. Did any of you guys notice the date rape scene?
I did.
Yeah, I was like, wow, it's really weird how they just gloss over it, and it's kind of like that's part of the peer pressure, and this, they never touch on it again in the movie. It's really odd, but yeah, just if you're able to watch this movie and not see the date rape scene, good for you. Those of you that watch it and see it, you'll never unsee it, and it makes you think about this movie in a different light, because again, peer pressure, and she's going out with a guy she doesn't really like to begin with, and he's forcing herself on her, and then afterwards she never tells anybody about it, and she's even there with a friend that is aware that this is happening, and she's totally oblivious. So really strange. Okay. A lot of stuff you can't do in this movie now. The whole bringing a gun to school and shooting guys in the face with blanks. Like, you cannot do that now at all.
I thought of that immediately when I saw it.
To be fair, I really don't think you could do it then.
yeah, right, exactly. Like, I don't think you do it then either. It's like, but the dialogue in this this movie reminds me of the teen speak in like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where it's like all this invented slang that nobody was, I don't think, really even saying at the time. But in this movie, it's like really trendy. It keeps it interesting, and it always constantly catches you off guard because you're just kind of like, haven't heard somebody say that before. I might use that. I might have to borrow that.
But did you sort of almost feel, though, that in some ways that this wasn't really meant to be a real school in a real town? This was almost a fantasy world.
I totally agree.
I almost felt like, especially when they're playing, what's that game? With the ball and the
croquet.
Croquet. When they're playing croquet, and I almost started to feel it's like, is there some sort of Alice in Wonderland thing of? It's not meant to sort of be real. It's meant to be fantasy. Well, I know
it's almost a characterization of high school and of all of the individual little personality types within it.
Right. Yeah.
So they're
definitely satire.
Over the top.
Yeah, absolute satire. I totally agree. Absolute satire.
Because the other thing, too, is that, with all these murders that they set up as suicides, it's a little bit like, does the local police department not have a forensic team?
You know what? Those two guys were gay, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, don't think too much into it, Warren.
I'm jokingly saying that. I am being sarcastic when I say that. So again, please, nobody take. I feel like I'm saying all the wrong things tonight. No, but
I don't think anybody thought you meant that seriously.
No, I was just thinking,
they're listening to the wrong show.
Oh, exactly. This movie is rife with 80s homophobic humor.
Yeah.
80s homophobic humor. I can't even say that word. See, it's not even part of my vocabulary. Homophobic. There we go. I finally said it. 80s homophobic humor. See, I can't fucking say this word. It keeps coming out wrong. So evidently it's just not part of my vocabulary.
Yeah, it is.
It's very 80s. Yeah. And even now in American cinema, and I honestly hate that, it's still like a lot of movies, that's a lazy punchline. I don't even think it's funny. I'm to the point where I feel like I, as a person, have evolved beyond laughing at somebody's sexuality, unless they're fucking goats, because that's hilarious. But other than that, anytime American movies are like, oh, let's make a joke about these two guys being gay, I'm like, really? Are people still doing that kind of fucking humor? Grow up. It just shows ignorance and lack of understanding in culture. Like, even in the most recent, I guess you could call it, not really a remake, but they did the Chips movie based on, the 70s TV show Chips. Mm-hmm. And it was full of fucking gay jokes. And I'm like, really? We're still doing that shit? Come on. Yeah.
See, I haven't seen the Chips movie yet, so I can't really comment.
You don't need to.
Yeah, which is a shame because I love the TV series. I have to admit.
Well, they ruined it.
Yeah, even though probably if I watched an episode of Chips now, I'd probably just sit there going, "Did I really enjoy this?"
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
But I did as a child. I thought it was fantastic. These two guys who rode these motorbikes all day. How cool was that?
It was fantastic, cool. And they seemed to solve every interstate crime with some sort of skating party at the end, too.
Yes. But you know something, though, that was really unusual about Chips for an American TV cop show?
What?
Nope.
Sorry, okay, right. So I was doing that pause, to do sort of, they do, and the winner is, so they never draw their weapons in a single episode.
Oh.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because, think about, the A-Team. Nobody ever died in the A-Team, and vans were flipping over and explosions were happening. And there was just a time period in television where nobody did things like that. It just didn't happen.
No, but I can't think of a single cop show where police don't at least draw their weapon once.
Right, that's fantastic.
Do you know?
Eric Estrada's weapon was his smile.
Yes, that's true.
And his hair. And his hair.
That's
right.
true.
I did not need a gun.
And he still looks the same.
Yes.
Oh my God.
He is perfectly preserved.
He has that that Dick Clark disease. Is that it?
Well, it is
the same for centuries.
It is fantastic in the.
You ever noticed that about Dick Clark before he finally passed away? Is that he had looked the same for probably 50 years.
50.
You know.
Yes.
Just a hell of a plastic surgeon.
But there is when Eric Estrada was in the B movie by Sci-Fi Channel, was it Chipolatas or something? I don't know. It's meant to be some sort of weird creature that lives in Texas, New Mexico. Yeah, that's it. What did I call them? What did I call them?
You were trying to say Chipotle, like.
Don't worry. I probably would have called them nachos or something. I don't know, but in that movie where he has to go and rescue his daughter, he hops on one of the same motorbike he rode in Chips. When he has to go off and save his daughter. So, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm sorry you were disappointed by that, but although, are you excited about Baywatch, the movie?
Oh my God, doesn't that look hilarious? Okay, they had me when fucking Zac Efron said, "What do you mean by you people?" And The Rock goes, "Oh, you can't say that, you're just tan." And then the black guy goes, "You're black." So I'm like, okay, they got the humor spot on. This shit's great.
Yeah.
Can't wait. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm looking forward to that. I'm one of those where Baywatch was a guilty pleasure when I was growing up, I have to admit.
It still is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I wonder why, Warren, was there not this actress? Who's the actress that was on Baywatch? Was it a Gina Lee Nolan? I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been. It just could have been. I know. But I love the Hoff, believe it or not. I thought the Hoff was great in that. I really did.
Warren, have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2 now? Have you seen his cameo in that?
No, I've only seen the original. I haven't seen the sequel yet.
The Hoff makes a cameo.
Oh,
cool.
Fantastic.
That's cool. Okay, I need to see it. I haven't seen it.
Look, I was so suckered into the Hoff that, I even watched Baywatch Nights.
Oh,
Now, you know,
is that a mix of Knight Rider and Baywatch?
It was, yeah, basically, yeah, so he goes off, so he's a lifeguard during the daytime, but at nighttime he runs a private detective agency.
It has a talking car.
Right, okay, but what they do is they don't hunt down, you know, men cheating on their wives or anything like that. They hunt down aliens and ghosts and demons and stuff. It's just, it was Baywatch meets the X-Files. It was just absolutely crazy.
That is the best. I had no idea.
When does this guy sleep?
He doesn't
during the day and then Baywatch night.
Oh, come on! It was Mitch Buchanan. Remember, he was meant to be an ex-Navy SEAL. If you actually watch the original episodes. In fact, it was amazing. If you watch the first season of Baywatch, it's kind of astounding that 3 of the main cast were all ex-Navy SEALs. You know, I mean, it's just...
Oh my goodness gracious.
And then, but it kind of made sense. But then by season 2, when they started fighting giant octopuses and all sorts of different things, I don't know. Anyway.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Anyway.
Okay, I think we're reviewing a movie called Heathers.
Oh really? Sorry, I forgot about that.
That movie.
You know what? This movie is actually kind of hard to talk about because it's kind of all over the place because there's so much going on with it. Falling in love with a sociopath, you know, the outcast, you know, having murderous tendencies, lashing out, the way people treat suicide. Like in this movie, they talked about how things become kind of fads, but also the way people respond to the suicide. Because, like, what is the proper emotional outpouring at a school? Do we pretend it didn't happen? Do we just talk about it one time and forget about it? Are we supposed to sing Kumbaya and hold hands and invite a TV camera crew and make it a thing? Like, you know, but then, like, my favorite thing was, and this happens in life, like, this is really accurate to life. When somebody dies, especially suicide, even if that person was total garbage, total bitch, what does everybody do? Oh, that was such a nice person. Oh, that person had so much potential. Oh, I remember the time me and this person did this nice thing.
Yes, but brings up thoughts of Unfriended, doesn't it? Where they were all responsible for the death of the girl, but they all carry on like they loved her so much. So
exactly,
that's very interesting. Yeah. We have to do that at some stage. Actually,
we do, because we keep talking about that one too. And that's actually really cool.
Unfriended. Yeah. But I did love the ending of this movie though. Actually, although she gets away with murder quite literally.
Yes, and I mean that's a weird thing. The whole murder and being implicit in a murder and then just going on to live a normal life. Like, wow.
I mean, it's like she turns into a good person, and she's going to befriend the social outcast, if you like. But it's kind of like, but you actually killed 3 people, babe. Right. I mean, but actually talking about that with the character of the social outcast, the way that her only way that she felt that she could become popular was to do the popular thing, which was to try to commit suicide. What did everybody think about that?
Well, it was still a great example of kind of the clique mentality out there. The cool people who committed suicide, they became martyrs. They became, everyone talked about them in such a way that they became more popular. The poor girl, Martha Dumptruck, or Duntruck, or whatever her name was.
That name.
Yeah. She fails at suicide, and she becomes even more ridiculed than ever for trying to be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's trying to be a cool person at that point. And, but I think in the end, I think the lesson that you walk away from almost from this is that change has to come from the top down, because no matter who was at the top, things were the same until somebody who was different put themselves at the top.
That's very well said.
That's very true, because she takes that ribbon, which is meant to be the symbol of leader of the pack.
Right.
The power of the red scrunchie.
Yeah, that's right. And, it's like, I am now leader, and it's like the world's going to be a different place.
Yep. And we're going to do things differently.
We're going to do things differently. So that's very interesting. Although it would be, because it is argued that there is nobody on the bottom in this movie who actually tries to change anything. It's it's a battle of power between the people at the top of society.
Right.
Not the average masses as such. They're just the cattle, the sheep.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, can we talk about Christian Slater doing a fucking Jack Nicholson impersonation in this movie?
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably my first introduction to Christian Slater, and the fact, I was really amazed by the fact that Christian Slater had such range to be able to play Christian Slater so well.
Yes.
Watching it today, who he really reminded me of? Like, the whole time I'm thinking of Heath Ledger as the Joker, like the same, it's almost the same voice. And then, Heath Ledger had that little bit of channeling that he was doing of Jack Nicholson, and then Christian Slater with his Jack Nicholson thing going on. It was very reminiscent of that to me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I equated with the Joker, this evil, demented sociopath, and his character was kind of the same. He just wasn't dressing up,
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, Christian Slater's character in this movie is a total sociopath.
He is.
Just like a sociopath.
but why?
Just like, wow.
Social justice, though. I mean, he's killing off the assholes of the school in a way.
But then
well, you know how many assholes I've met in my life? I would have like hundreds of dead bodies if I went to kill them. I'm serious. That's why I find that really disturbing. Not disturbing to the point that it makes a bad movie, but I'm like, wow, that's a disturbing mentality, dude. If every single time somebody pisses you off, you're going to kill them. I mean, that's wow. That's genocide, dude. You're going to kill off a population.
This is the interesting thing, too, was that did Christian Slater intend to kill himself in the mass suicide?
I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure, actually.
No, I don't think so, because he said he expected her to be with him afterwards and them celebrating after.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Wow. Wow, that's... Wow. just killed hundreds of people in a school. Let's celebrate. Wow. Okay, did I say this guy's a sociopath?
Yes. But why?
Wow.
Why do we
Wow.
always have to do this channeling of Jack Nicholson? For God's sake! I mean, you know how I feel about this, Velvet. But I mean,
Your favorite actor?
one of the world's most overrated friggin' actors.
Again,
I'm sorry.
such range.
Yeah. I've got my three favourites who I just wish had never gone into cinema. But anyway, I've mentioned them before. But should I mention them again or not?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty, and the woman. I've forgotten her name now.
Now I forgot too.
I've forgotten her name. Oh God, sorry. It's just that it's like, here we go. Let's give them a role so they can just play themselves. Let's give them another role so they can just play themselves.
Just play themselves.
Well, the list of that has to include Robert De Niro, Gene Hackman.
Yeah,
they're all themselves.
Yes.
But I look at Gene Hackman as being, somebody that I can watch in a movie over and over again and not really be irritated that he's himself. I don't know. Maybe not. But.
Oh, sorry, Diane Keaton. That's the other one.
Oh yeah. I like Diane Keaton, but I feel like she plays the same character every fucking movie.
She does.
And, I know. And what spoilt it so much for me, there was a movie that I saw when I was at school. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, called Reds, and I'd read the book. Was it 11 Days That Shocked the World or whatever, and I was so looking forward to seeing this movie, which was about the writing of this book, which we'd read at school, and I was fascinated by the Russian Revolution at that stage in my life. I was just quite fascinated by it, and then I went and saw this movie, and of course it starred all three of them together, and I thought, are you kidding me?
Oh, instant box office poison.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, so before Christian Slater kills a bunch of people in this movie, or not a bunch, but I guess one kill is one kill too many. He kills people in this movie. Okay, the way he fucking does it. Okay, first off he tricks Veronica into killing people, and because he's always kind of like, oh, it's going to be a prank, and here's how we're going to do the prank. So she ends up poisoning one of her friends. Then they end up shooting two guys because they think those are just...
They're non-lethal bullets.
And then,
yeah,
they're non-lethal bullets.
Yeah, that's...
There's actually a funny scene in that because you probably already know this if you're a big Heathers fan. But, when he asked her before he starts telling her about these bullets, he goes, are you taking German? And she says, no, I'm taking French. And he goes, okay, well, these are Ischluga bullets. That's German for I am lying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he let her know that he was lying. So, but yeah, so then she shoots somebody and it's like, oh, that Ischluga bullet was actually a lie. Yes, it was. It's really interesting, but it's also like the whole thing of how you get drawn into a situation, like when you get influenced by somebody that you like or you're in love with, and they are not good for you. And in this case, for her, it's a guy that keeps getting her to kill people.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it is an interesting point. I mean, you often hear this stories so often about, how did this child turn bad? They come from, I mean, quite often, like kids go bad because the parents themselves are bad. But, every now and again, there will be a child who grows up in a perfectly loving, good, great, but they fall in with the wrong crowd and they do go bad. And so there is sort of something in that with this, is that she's not a bad person, but she does get drawn into it to a degree. But then again, does she really get drawn into it? Because does she secretly really want this to happen? She's not really fighting back that much until the end.
Well, also she realizes this guy's going to end up killing her if she doesn't get rid of him.
Well, but that's also the thing, is that does she change her opinion more for self-preservation, or does she change her opinion because she just realizes what they're doing is wrong?
And that there is the question.
Yeah.
Is she a good person, or is it all just selfishely motivated? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
selfishly motivated, definitely.
Yeah,
she's okay with him killing the assholes.
Yes.
True.
Kill the nice people, only kill the assholes. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, it's
a lot of Dexter too. I mean, come on.
Oh, okay. Like, yeah, I love Dexter as long as he kills the assholes, not the nice people. And then towards the end of the movie, he starts crossing that line where he's like, "Oh, well, I kind of have to kill you just because and that's kind of inconvenient. So bye, But
we love our anti-heroes though, don't we?
Yes.
I mean, we love them. I mean,
absolutely.
Television at the moment is just full of anti-heroes.
Yes,
there's so many of them. So yeah,
Gotham is so fantastic.
Okay, the cinematography in this movie is really interesting. There's a lot of emphasis on color. Like, you'll see a lot of things are like color coded. Like, as you already mentioned, Warren, that red is like the queen bee. That's like the top of the clique. But I mean, it also represents blood and suicide. There's a lot of black in this, representing death, depression, loneliness. I mean, all kinds of interesting use of color in this. The funeral scenes are very colorful.
Yes.
Even though one of them is a dream sequence. But I think I want to have that kind of funeral.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, my funeral is going to be in 3D with 3D glasses, everybody. So look forward to that.
Well, I did love of the two funeral scenes. Or there's three actually, I think. And the one one's a dream sequence and the other two are real. But the one I love, I think it's the very first one, where one of the Heathers is actually there readjusting her hairline with the holy water from the church.
Oh my God!
Did you notice that?
You know what? The pressure to keep up appearances, even at funerals, like, my goodness gracious. I actually thought it was kind of cute, kind of funny when the two, jocks got murdered and they were actually in their football uniforms with their helmets on with footballs on their chests at the funeral. I was like, aw, that's sweet. But then also, I mean, there's also a sad part in that scene. What's also sad that they got killed, but you don't really care about those characters because of the way they're portrayed. But you realize that one of them has a little sister that's sad that she's lost her older brother. And that's when Veronica's kind of like, oh, shit. Like, I'm not just killing these people. Like, when I kill these people, it's going to affect other people. Like, just because I think they're an asshole, they do have family and they do have people that love and care about them. And I've taken them away.
Yeah.
Yes, Tiffany, if killing people is bad.
I forgot the killing was bad. Yes. I saw the little girl cry. Well, that's how she is in this movie, though. She's like, I forgot that killing was bad until I saw the little girl cry. But, yeah. And that's not a line from the movie, guys. The dialogue in this movie is actually quite good.
Yes.
That was not a direct quote.
Because where was Winona Ryder in her career? I'm just trying to think when this was made.
She was, 80s. She was like Hollywood royalty, wouldn't you guys say? Or was she just starting to be?
Well, this was 1988. So
yes, 80s. She was pretty.
I was going to say this right after Beetlejuice.
Yeah, so she was cream of the crop. Yeah. Cream of the crop.
Father Ripper in Heathers, the guy who played the pastor, was also the medium in Beetlejuice.
You're right.
Yes.
That's Tim's special skill. He's really good at picking out these actors. Yeah, this one and that one and that one.
And also Shannon Doherty. Shannon Doherty from 90210 fame. I love Shannon Doherty. Although her career has not aged well. She has not aged well, I hate to say, because she was in this, sci-fi type movie about killer moray eels. And they show a scene of her in natural sunlight, and I was just shocked. I was like, Shannon, did you not wear sunscreen all these decades? Like,
probably not.
Just not.
It's the problem with Shannon Doherty. It's a bit like, remember we talked about Caruso. What's his name? From Miami CSI. David Caruso. And how he left. And he was on this huge climb to fame, and then decided, or he wasn't going to hang around for NYPD Blue. He was going to go off and make this amazing career. And it was, and of course, it all just fell apart, and he ended up doing B movies and all the rest of it. And Shannon Doherty was a bit like that. She had all this fame from 90210, and then suddenly, what were the next movies she started? I mean, they were like almost like
nobody remembers.
No, they were B movies, or they were you know what do we call it? Like, you know, Doherty, she was doing
fucking career,
you know, and then she started doing Cinemats movies, and you know, and all this sort of stuff, and it was like your career didn't really go where you thought it was going to.
You know, it's not just her career. Like, I know this isn't the fucking Hollywood gossip podcast, but I just have to say she always had a reputation for being difficult to work with, and that also will kill your career faster than fucking anything.
Oh yeah,
you know? And
that's Michael Bay.
Yeah, unless you got the bucks. Unless you got the bucks to back it up, you can't be a total bitch. And you know
that's right.
So, or asshole if you're a man, or whatever. However you identify, I'm open to that.
Well,
women can be assholes.
Yes, they can. You're totally
and men can be bitches.
Yes. Well, there are quite a number of actors, I believe, especially in Hollywood at the moment, where if their name comes up, other people will turn down the roles because they don't want to work with them.
Like Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just had to abuse him some more since we were doing it earlier.
And Katherine Heigl, that's another one that's killed her career. The only movie she can get is where she's playing a bitch. That's all they'll give. I'm serious. That's all they give her now.
She's typecast.
Exactly. She plays a crazy stalker bitch in a movie now that's in theaters that's getting horrendous reviews, and they're like, she's playing herself.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, dearie me. All right, so
I have other stories about
you
that.
see some famous faces in this movie.
Sorry, what was that?
Some famous faces in this movie. You see Winona Ryder, Christian Slater, Shannon Doherty from 90210 fame. So these people were in the cream of the crop in the 80s. You know, they were the height of their careers, I think, shooting stars at the time. Actually, Shannon Doherty hadn't even been on 90210 yet. It was because of this movie that she got cast in 90210 because Tori Spelling actually saw her in Heathers. So yeah, some fun movie trivia for you right there.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
But what were you also? You're about to say something Irish that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say I have lots of stories about difficult actors, but I should probably save that for another time.
Oh, give us one. Come on, just give us one bit of goss. Give us one bit of goss.
Yes.
Oh, one. Oh, okay.
Judge Reinhold.
That won't get you in too much time.
I will agree with that. Yes, Tim. Judge Reinhold.
Oh, really? Oh.
He's he has an interesting personality. He's a little difficult to work with on set and in his trailer and in makeup and anywhere else that you work with him. So, you know, I don't want to necessarily say everything that happened, but we did do a movie with him and it was exceptionally difficult.
I have heard the exact same thing. Really quick again, like I said, this isn't the Hollywood Gossip Podcast, but I'm going to throw in one more piece for you. Again, Judge Reinhold. I don't know him personally, but friend of a friend. No, actually, it wasn't a friend of a friend. It was my friend. Was a makeup artist in Hollywood that ended up on his set where Judge Reinhold was, and I'll just echo what you said. So it was very difficult working with that man. I was like, wow.
Well, at least I know it wasn't just here in Orlando then.
Yeah, it wasn't just you. Nope. Also in Hollywood, which is also, again, the last place you want to piss people off. If you
Absolutely.
Want to get on the right. If you want to get on the blacklist really quick and do nothing but shitty B movies, unless they're movies that we like to review, please do.
Well, I love it. I love a shitty. I love a shitty B movie. I mean, I live off shitty B movies. I mean, I'm still waiting. I can't wait for Sharknado 5. I'm going to have the biggest party.
But yeah, I love how B movies. Yeah, look what B movies have become. We've talked about this. I mean, it is cool to do B movies now. If you were popular in the 80s and the 90s or any decade before that, and you want to revive your career, go do a high-profile B movie, and that will get you back on the radar. And jump on social media, and you'll have like millions of Twitter followers in no time. You know, really.
Well, it is a bit like B movies used to be the place where actors started their careers and then ended their careers.
Yes.
But now they're there's almost like, it's kind of quite different. It's like, I mean, depending on the movie, all right, there are B movies and there are B movies, you know, sort of thing. I mean, but especially now with the Sci-Fi Channel, it's not necessarily uncool to do a sci-fi, I'm talking Sci-Fi Channel, not sci-fi the genre, a Sci-Fi Channel movie. It's actually kind of quite cool now.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go after 210.
Yeah.
And already didn't even make a Sharknado, did she?
Ian.
Oh, Ian did, yes.
Ian. Oh, yeah. He's. I mean, how has that thrown him back into the spotlight again? You know.
Yeah.
And also, what's her name? That plays his wife.
Tara Reid.
Tara Reid. You know, like.
Yeah.
No one can even remember who Tara Reid was, until she came back. I mean, I know that she was huge at one stage, but then she just fell off the radar, went into doing B movies and all the rest of it, and then suddenly she got this role in this B movie. But sci-fi has turned the whole concept of B movie around. You know, it's like,
they really have.
It's. I think one of the great things about it is that we went through a stage where, you know, B movies were sort of daytime cinema where people could go and they'd spend their money and they'd go and see like 3 movies back to back and they'd do all this sort of stuff. Then it all ended, you know, with but then we got the drive-in thing. So there was this huge thing, well, not maybe if you lived in Denmark, but if you lived in America or Canada or something like that, you had the whole drive-in culture. So the B-grade movies kept going, and then they just died off. You know, there wasn't enough market in video rental really for B grade. But then suddenly cable TV has brought the whole genre back. And I think it's fantastic myself.
And the internet and social media. Because, I mean, like you mentioned, you said a Sharknado party, and that's exactly what's going to happen. When the next Sharknado comes around, people are going to be all abuzz online on social media, and they do have those actual viewing parties, like not only just physically, but virtually, of people like tweeting and commenting on social media as they're watching the movie to like connect with people about this movie while watching the movie. It's a really cool time for B movies.
Oh, it is. The way that people interact now with all this sort of stuff, you know, it's great. I mean, I have to admit, you know, I don't do Christmas, I don't do Easter, I don't do any of that sort of stuff. But I do Sharknado every year, and I do Eurovision every year. You know, they're my holy days when the latest Sharknado comes out and when Eurovision's on. So, you know, hey, we're all different.
It's become a social phenomenon.
Yeah, totally.
And actually, may I say, congratulations to Portugal on a great win last week. So, yeah, congratulations, Portugal. You did actually deserve to win. So, congrats on that. Congrats on that,
That's
Portugal.
Good sportsmanship, Warren.
That is.
Well, we came ninth.
Ouch.
Well, considering we came second last year, so it was a bit of a drop, but hey, 42 countries and we came ninth. It's not too bad.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Yeah.
You know, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. So anyway, all right. So if we're going to rate Heathers on the Eric Roberts scale, how are we going to do it? Because I just looked at the clock and holy crap.
Yeah, we could not stay on topic on this film at all. No. And it's not a bad movie at all. It's a cult classic for a reason. It's very subversive. It's very different. It's also like kind of like a movie about teenagers that I don't think it's 100% for teenagers. There's a lot of themes that it covers, you know, underage drinking, you know, date rape, peer pressure, suicide, teenage suicide, actually, murder, sociopathy, parents that are shitty parents because they don't raise their kids and let their kids raise themselves. I mean, there's so much going on. And also the visual aesthetic of the film is worth checking out. Time capsule film, 80s fashion in a fucking bottle for you to check it out and see what it looked like back then. The slang is invented. I don't think it's very accurate to the time of the film, but it's very interesting and it's very fun to listen to. So I'm trying to sell this film to our listeners in case they're kind of like, what the fuck kind of review was this? Yeah, so
it was a cult movie show review is what it was. 1% about the movie, 99% about everything else.
But no, definitely worth checking out. I like this one a lot. Actually, I think it's actually it's actually a really original film. It's just there's not a film that I can say, oh, if you like this film, you'll like that film. It's really kind of in its own category. I mean, they do say it's dark humor, but you really have to see this. It's very strange, but it's good and entertaining. So out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4.5 Erics.
Okay. Tim, how do you rate Heathers on the Eric Roberts scale of 1 to 5?
I'm new to this Eric Roberts scale. It's kind of interesting, but on the Eric Roberts scale,
because he's the king of B movies. King of B movies. He has over 300 movie credits and counting.
Educated man.
I think it was we went through
Eric Roberts from The Dark Knight.
I mean, we went through a stage. There was one stage where Eric Roberts. It was just the amount of B movies this man has pumped out is just so phenomenal. But we love him to death because what he'll do is he'll go and make 10 B movies and then he'll go and make a real big cinema release blockbuster, and then he'll go back and make 10 B movies. He's awesome. He's our hero.
Absolutely. Okay.
Absolutely.
0 to 5 in the Eric Roberts category. You're looking at these types of high school movies, somewhere beneath The Breakfast Club, above Mean Girls. I'd probably go. I could echo a 4.5. Absolutely,
Excellent.
And what about you, Irish?
I could give it a 4.5, but I'm honestly I'm gonna have to knock it down half a point to 4 Eric Roberts on this because I was really traumatized by the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
But other than that, great script, great cast, a lot of fun to watch. So.
I mean,
you know what? The 80s fashion is fucking painful to watch. You're not wrong about that. That shit does.
I had to wear it. I feel you. I know.
It's like it's like that. You not only have you got the shoulder pads, everyone's clothes are so baggy. They all look like they're wearing a Donald Trump suit. It's just so baggy, It's just anyway,
and it's fucking colorful too. I mean, wow.
Yeah. And all the women are wearing like men's blazers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their shoulders go up to their fucking ears.
Yes, exactly.
They're fucking huge. Okay, Warren, what do you got for us?
Even for me, even though it's obviously you'd almost like to sort of say you talked about John Hughes movies, Breakfast Club and all that sort of stuff. But but to me, it reminds me much more of Mean Girls than it ever does of something by John Hughes. So. And I see a lot of similarities actually with Mean Girls. It's just that this is much darker, but there is a lot of similarities. I'm going to give it about a 4 out of 5. I think.
Right on.
I really liked it. It was definitely a walk down memory lane with those clothes. I liked it. Now, what I liked about it was that It was so black, that the black humor. I love a lot of movies which are black humor. So, or I think the term we now use is dark humor, isn't it? But but I really like it. I think it was really good.
Right on. Awesome.
You're gonna like
it. This is a long one. You guys hang out with us for the long haul. We appreciate you so much for coming on. Morn and I said before the show, okay, we're going to keep this short because we don't want our guests to have to be here for hours and hours. But you guys are troopers. You encouraged us and hung out.
I have a real hard time not running my mouth, if you can't tell.
Yeah. So. We have a thing that we suffer from on this show so much is that we just digress and then digress and then digress and then digress even some more and then maybe we'll come back to the movie that we were actually talking about. So,
I love the of my life, Warren.
Yes, I love digressions. It makes it so much more entertaining than just like if we're like straight on point. Okay, the cinematography, the soundtrack, the skill of the actors, the budget.
I still remember the show. I think it was we had Cliff from OFTU podcast, and we had Gary on, and we were talking about like it was a giant dinosaur movie. I don't remember what the film was, right? And we start going into this great in-depth conversation about who was our favourite member of the Brady Bunch. Now, how on earth
that's a great episode.
we got into that? I have no idea, but yeah,
great episode. Actually. It flowed so organically that you would say, "How the hell do you go from giant dinosaurs to Brady Bunch?" But you guys flowed so organically, it worked out. It was seamless. It was perfect.
Oh my god!
Very well done.
All right. Well, I suppose it is time for shout-outs. Is there anything you want to? I know you've got a bit there you'd like to plug, Irish and Tim?
I'd just like to plug our show, Legion of Rue. It's the fantasy action adventure series that we're shooting now. We're shooting the pilot for it, and just a shout out to all of our cast and crew, our director Nathan McMahon, and Brett Reynolds, our DP, and all the guys on the cast, and everybody else that's come out to help us. Just saying hi and thank you guys.
We love you guys.
Fantastic. And
awesome.
Now you've got a Twitter address for Legion of Rue?
I do. It is at Legion of Rue, LEGIONOFRU. We are the same on Facebook and on Instagram as well. And then you can find the website at legionofrue.com. Got a lot of behind-the-scenes photos and a lot of info about the upcoming series.
Yeah, I highly recommend that website, by the way. It's really beautifully done, and it does get you excited about the upcoming release of this show. Really, I mean, it's an amazing world that you guys are building. And when I say world, people, I mean literally world. There are different factions of people and races, and it's amazing. I can't wait to see this show.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're really having fun doing it.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. I really can't wait.
The behind-the-scenes footage. It's great stuff, guys. Check it out.
And I'm just waiting to watch and just go, I know that prop. I know that chair. I've seen that chair before.
I expect you to be able to give me a list, Warren, of all the props that you know came from Sheena. I'm going to wait to figure it out. There's very prominently placed pieces all ready for you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited about that. I really am. And I'm not even playing blackjack. Sorry. It's been a long show. I don't even think we can remember that story. Anyway, so now, did you your own Twitter address, Irish and Tim? Did you want to?
Yeah, I've got at the Irish Stewart, STEWART. And if you are into politics, you can follow me on my political account on Twitter, which is at Naked Axiom. And then Tim has his.
Oh yeah, at Simply Fluid. On Twitter also. And Warren, I've got a gift for you. We're going to be sending to you. I've got a comic book. It's a Sheena comic book, autographed by Dina Lee Nolan.
Oh my God, Tim!
Wow, that's
Tim! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
You just made his life.
I'm lost.
Heard you were a fan. I've had it for a few years, and I thought you'd love it.
Tim! I'm on my knees at the moment doing the "I'm not worthy" chant.
He's crying. He's crying. He doesn't want to tell you that, so I'll tell you. He's crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, just message me your address, Warren.
No,
Awesome.
I will. Thank you, guys. That actually means
5 seconds after we hang up.
That actually, I just want to say, I've known Irish for a long time, and I just want to say, we've become quite good friends over the years, and that actually means more to me than I think you actually maybe realise. That's actually, that means a lot, actually. I'm tearing up now.
Okay, I'll take over. All right, he's starting to blubber, so I'll take over with a great podcast voice. All right, you can follow us on our Instagram and Twitter at Cult Movies Show. Go ahead and message us on Twitter, or you can email us, cultmovieshow@gmail.com. If you have any movies that you would like us to review, we've received some recent submissions of independent films for review, so you have not been forgotten. Thank you for doing that. We will get back to you and let you know when and if we will be reviewing your film. Thank you for that. And also, you can follow me on my personal social media on Twitter and Instagram at OMG, it's Velvet. You see, you'll never forget it. And you can follow my co-host. He likes his martini super dry. So, of course, on Twitter, you can find him at Martini Super Dry. He's the crazy Australian talking cult movies and horror and sci-fi and erotic monsters. Not erotic monsters.
Erotic monsters?
Erotic monsters.
What the hell is erotic monsters?
That's what it says on our...
It doesn't say erotic monsters on our Twitter.
That's what it says on our Twitter.
No,
we're talking erotic monsters. Cult.
There's a comma. It says we're talking. It says
punctuation matters.
We're talking erotic comma monsters.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Follow all of our social media and shoot us a message. And go ahead and tweet us on Twitter with any movies or short films or independent films that you'd like us to review.
Excellent. Well, once again, I want to thank you both Irish and Tim for coming on the show. It was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic having you on. We had a great time, and luckily, at least you knew what the show was like this time before you came on.
I think we cussed significantly less. I think I did all the cussing.
Yeah, we have had a couple of celebrities on who were a little bit like, what the hell is going on?
I'm much better than I usually am.
So no, really appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much for coming on. And obviously, we've got to say to everybody, rewind just a couple of minutes, check out those addresses from Irish and Tim in regards to Legion of Rue.
And check out the erotic monsters.
Definitely.
Yes. Most definitely. All right, well, that's sorry, what?
We did have an erotic monster in the Devil Girl from Mars. So yeah.
Oh, I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose as long as we're not going down.
I killed my co-host. Mission accomplished.
I suppose as long as we don't go down the erotic adventures of Godzilla or something along those lines.
You've just invented a new genre of movie.
Well, there's Son of Godzilla. He had to come from somewhere.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So,
It's the most non-erotic animal porn you've ever seen. All he does is lay an egg, and then another one comes along and fertilizes it. It's really hyped up. Not all exciting.
Fair enough. So I was going to say something, but I'm not now. No, that's all right.
All right. We'll stop there.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This was, of course, podcast 44, and hopefully we'll be back with 45 after this one. No, we will be. We'll be back, of course, with number 45 next week. Yes, and just to let everybody know too that we have mentioned it slightly on Twitter, but of course most of the people who listen to this show, of course, use iTunes. But we do, of course, have a YouTube channel, as Velvet has mentioned. But it takes us 24 hours between the iTunes upload to the YouTube upload. It's just because of changes that are happening within YouTube itself.
Yeah.
So. If you are a YouTube listener, even though we post the show on Twitter, you still will have to wait 24 hours to be able to listen to it on YouTube. So that's just so people know. All right. Thanks, everybody. That's a wrap. And we'll leave you, as always, with Alana Evans and Perfect. Simply because it's the only piece of music that we've actually got the rights to.
It's a great song from a great lady.
Yeah, most definitely. No, great friend. So, unlike Pavarotti, I'm not claiming to be friends with a dead person. So that's good. Sorry, I just had to throw that in. So anyway, where am I going? All right, so that's number 45, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Definitely fun.